Welcome to TTMcast, your sports collectibles podcast with Jeff Baker and Drew Pelto. Sponsored by Certified Sports Guarantee. Go to csgcards.com for sports card grading for the win. And by sportscollectorsdaily.com. If it happens in the hobby, you'll find it on sportscollectorsdaily.com. And sponsored by gemrate.com. The latest grading statistic from the 4 major grading companies is just a click away. Visit gemrate.com. It's free. Sponsored by Collects, the free app for scanning and valuing your cards. Use the app to build your collection and buy and sell with other collectors. Turn the hobby into your side hustle. And now, here's our host, Jeff Baker.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to TTM Cast, your sports collectibles podcast, where we talk TTM cards, autographs, collecting, and a whole lot more. We go off the rails sometimes, right, Drew?
Once in a while we do, yeah.
It's kind of however my brain, whatever Drew's brain goes for. My name is Jeff Baker. I am the host of this fine program, talking to you from Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host from Arlington, Texas. His name is Drew Pelto. He is DWF Grapper. Oh my God, he's the best. He has videos every week on YouTube. He is on Twitter. He will not go on Thread. He put his foot down. He said, "That's it. I'm not going on Thread." But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little later. You're listening to the nationally ranked sports podcast, and you know what? We have fun. That's all we do, right, Drew?
Yeah, pretty much. If we get on and we talk about the stuff we like, and most of the time we stay on topic, and sometimes it goes off the rails. You never know.
Not sometimes it goes off the rails. We always go off the rails.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's going to happen at least once an episode.
Well, you know what? Drew and I love cards. We love TTMing. We love autographs, and we just do this for fun, guys. This is a labor of love. I've been doing this for 5 years. Drew's been doing it for 2 years now, and we do a new show every Wednesday, which is called TTMcast 101, which is an interview show, and we do this show every Saturday. And this show can run anywhere from maybe an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, maybe sometimes 3 hours. So sit back. Hopefully you're with us for the whole show. We love to hear from you. We're going to first review our week, and then we got all sorts of cool stuff to talk about. So welcome if you're a new listener. Drew, we keep getting new listeners, which I'm amazed. I think we kind of don't scare off the old listeners, and we keep our new listeners, and we've been growing.
Nice. That's always good. I mean, anytime you can grow the audience, that's always a good thing.
So just tell your friends about us and sit back and enjoy. So, Drew, I went to the Red Sox and Rangers game on Wednesday night, and finally the sun came out in Boston, and it was a nice day. It was like 80 degrees, and it was beautiful, and the Red Sox beat the Rangers, and it was a really good game. I think it was either 4-2 or it was a close game, the one that I went to. It was a good game. 1967 Cy Young winner Jim Lomborg was in the team store signing autographs for free. So I got a couple of signed 5x7 of Jim Lomborg. I'm going to give one of those away to a lucky listener next week, and we'll talk about that in Baker's Dozen. And it was my birthday on Friday. I'm 58. Can you believe I'm 58, Drew?
Nice.
58. So I got all sorts of good cards. My family kicked in with tons of good cards. I got a Series 2 Mega Box. I got a Heritage Mega Box. I got 3 blasters, Series 2 blasters. So I've opened a couple of them. No autographs yet, but I got a lot of good cards. So I'm very, very happy. I think I'm getting pretty close to putting together both the Series 2 set and the Heritage set. I got to put them in number order and see where I am, but I'm getting pretty close to finishing both those sets. I think Heritage, I might need some of the high numbers, But
yeah, that always takes a while.
But the basic ones, I've got those. So very happy. And today is Saturday. My family and I we're gonna go for dinner for my birthday on Saturday as well. My daughter's coming home. We went out to Hooters last night. We went out to Hooters last night for my birthday. Had some wings and curly fries. It was a fun time. And then we went to Dairy Queen. Kind of an all-American birthday, right?
Of course.
And then we're going out to a Japanese steakhouse with my family tonight. So it's a 2-night birthday, and I got some more presents coming today. So it's a big birthday weekend.
Nice. That sounds pretty good.
Very good. How was your week?
It's decent so far. Sent out 18 autograph requests over the last 2 weeks, so hopefully those will be starting to roll in pretty soon. Did some graphing last night. I'll talk about that here in a second. Got a few trades in as well. Got a couple upcoming games. I'm going to be going to the Guardians and the Rangers next weekend, or this coming weekend, I guess, a week from this weekend.
Nice.
And finally starting to get my overseas stamps in. Got my Korean stamps in, so I'll be able to send out 3 more Korean requests this week. So we'll see how those go. But yeah, went and did some in-person graphing last night. They had a doubleheader between the Midland Rockhounds and Frisco. And boy, if you want a truly miserable team, the Midland Rockhounds are for you when it comes to graphing. I mean, oh God,
really?
Oh yeah. I mean, these guys, it's Oakland's AA team. If these guys had the talent to match their egos, they would be up in the majors already. This is Oakland we're dealing with, for God's sake, here. But so they have about, let's see, how many was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of their top 30 prospects in the A's organization are with the AA team there, but nobody that's really that great at all on it. So just give you a quick rundown of how everything went here with these guys. I'll do the top 30 guys first. So Lawrence Butler, he wasn't even there because he's playing in the Futures game. It's coming up, the All-Star game. So didn't see him at all. And from everything I heard, he was one of the toughest ones to deal with among all this entire team. So I'm kind of glad I didn't see him. Denzel Clark is their number 9 prospect. And God, he was absolutely miserable. I mean, we were waiting on him as he comes in, and we're like, hey, Denzel, you got time to sign? He like looks and yells at us, I'm not signing any cards for you people, and walks off.
Oy.
He did that apparently the entire series too. Typically, it sounds like he's picking 1 game per series, signing then, and that's it. If you get him, great. If you don't, well, sucks for you. Number 12 prospect, Brett Harris, didn't even see him at all there, which is weird. He played on the 5th, so he obviously was with the team. I don't know why we didn't see him, though, at all. Number 13 prospect, JT Ginn, is listed as active on their roster, but hasn't pitched in 2 months. It turns out he's doing injury rehab in Arizona, so he wasn't there. The number 14 prospect was Darrell Hernandez. He signed 1 out of the 2 cards I had, so he was at least all right. Royber Salinas, he was on the injured list, so we didn't see him, their number 16 prospect. Ryan Cusick is their number 18 prospect. He started the first game of the doubleheader, so he wouldn't sign before it, but afterward he at least did 2 out of 4. The number 19 prospect was Joey Estes. He did the only card I had. The number 29 prospect was Jack Perkins. I didn't have anything for him, so I didn't even really look for him at all. Then a bunch of guys who were not in their top 30 at all. Let's see here. We had Cooper Bowman was cool, at least. He did all 4 cards that I had at the batting cage. I think he was just excited he was getting off the injured list finally, so maybe back into his first game. Grant Holman signed all 4 cards that I had. Durbin Feltman, former Red Sox prospect, he signed 1 out of the 4 cards that I had. Calvin Coker, God, here's an interesting one. So before the first game of the doubleheader, he's up hanging out in the bullpen, and somebody goes and asks, hey, yeah, Calvin, you mind signing? And he says, yeah, I'll sign for you if you can tell me what college I went to. It's like, seriously, dude? And the guy like looks at him like, what? And he's like, yeah, I don't like signing unless I, unless the person has a connection with me or something like that is what he says. And he's just like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. So I didn't bother asking beforehand, but I looked on the back. Unfortunately, the back of his card said that he went to Auburn and Ranger College, both. So it's like, if I ask him and he asked me, bam, I can snap that out right there. But in between games, the doubleheader, I asked if he would sign. He's like, yeah, no problem. And signs 1 out of the 4 cards that I had there. Trey Supak. So before the game, they're announcing the starting lineup still. And typically players will sign all the way up until first pitch. Once that first pitch is thrown, done. They're announcing the lineup. So they still have, like a good 5 or 10 minutes before even getting started there. And Trey Supak, somebody asked me and he angrily responds, no, we're getting ready to start. It's like, you've got 10 minutes, dude. Seriously, you could knock out everything in that time very quickly. We didn't even see Jeremy Eierman at all. He hasn't played in about a month. I think he may be injured and didn't make the trip at all. It's weird. He's not listed on the injured list because just like, what's his name? JT Ginn wasn't listed on it either. Lazaro Armenteros, before the game said, oh, not now. But then between games, he at least signed the 2 cards that I had on my book for me. Manager Bobby Crosby signed 2 out of 4 cards.
I like Bobby Crosby.
Oh, yeah. He's kind of weird. I mean, 2 years ago, he signed everything you had. You could put down, 4 cards, 6 cards, whatever. He would do everything. Last year, he suddenly cut it back to 1 per. And now this year looks like he's doing 2 per. So I'll take that, though, at least.
I liked him
And
as a
pitching,
player.
yeah, he was really good. I mean, he was I think rookie of the year 1 year there.
Yep.
So, yep. And finally, pitching coach Chris Smith, former Red Sox prospect, signed all 3 cards that I had. So, yeah, that's, I mean.
He did okay, but not great.
Right. Yeah, it was all right in the end. But JT Ginn was the biggest one that I needed because he's in the 21 Heritage set. And he was listed on the roster there, but no, apparently he's injured and hasn't played in 2 months and wasn't even traveling with the team. So 2 years in a row now, JT Ginn has been on the injured list when Midland has played at Frisco. So it's like, I'm just completely snake bit on this guy, it seems. I think they come in one more time, though. So
do they come in twice?
I think so. I think they've got one more trip in later this year. I hope they do at least. And maybe he'll be back then.
And Drew, you have to mention your great article in Sports Collectors Daily.
Yes, yeah, finally got figured out what to write for that one. Because I've been wanting to do one on the 72 high numbers for a while now, and I just was not able to come with a good angle on it. So finally, just the other day, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to start, just stream of consciousness on this whole thing and see, all right, what can I come up with? And I sent it over to Rich and I said, this is what I could come up with. If you got anything you want me to expand on or anything, let me know. I can do that. Hopefully it works out. And he's like, yeah, hey, this is really great. I only changed one thing in there, and then yeah, it's good to go. I'm like, okay, cool. That's. I guess I just need to just let my brain puke onto the paper essentially.
You get much feedback on it?
I haven't yet, but I haven't really checked out the any of the comments on Facebook or anything like that yet.
Yeah, it's a good article, guys. Check it out. He wrote an article on 1972 Topps baseball high number. It's a really a good article. It's in Sports Collectors Daily. It's right there, right on it's the first article, Drew, which is coveted. That's where you want to be. So
exactly.
It was up for the first couple of days. I didn't check it today, but I think as of yesterday, it was the top article. So make sure you guys check that out on Drew's article, 1972 Topps baseball high number. It's a really fun article. And Drew is a content creator. He is a great content creator, and make sure you check him out on YouTube. He is at DFW Grapher, and he has he puts basically just about every week, right, Drew? You do a video.
Yeah, if it's been a slow week, I might push it into 2 weeks there. So this I didn't do it this past week at all, and this week was even slower. So it's going to be a very short 2-week video, but I'll have one up hopefully tomorrow or Monday.
Very cool. Well, guys, we have a really fun show for you this week. In Collector's Corners, we spoke with Kurt Humbertson. He is a TTM collector and a set collector as well from West Virginia. And we talked to him about collecting. He collects with his son, and he's a really passionate collector. So make sure you check that out. Then we talked to Clemente Lisi about the upcoming National. It's a fun talk with Clemente. So that is coming up. So we got a lot of fun stuff. Next week, we have Greg Bates, who is an author and writes articles for Sports Collectors Digest. And we're going to have Les Wolf doing his appraisals. So if you have any items you want to have appraised by Les, and when I praise, it's really just an opinion. Send it to us. I'll get it right. Send it to us with a description and a picture. Send it to
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
Yeah, try to get it to me by the end of the day Monday, because I'm going to talk to Les on Tuesday because he's traveling out to the National and getting ready for the National. So please send it to me by the end of the day Monday, and we've got 3 or 4 things already. So if you have anything that you'd like to get Les's appraisal for July, just send it out. Send a picture and a description to
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
and we will have Les do the appraisal for it. We also have all our regular segments, right, Drew?
We do indeed. We've got Baker's Dozen, where we cover all the news from the collectibles world from the previous week. As you mentioned, we've got a TTMer Kurt Humbertson coming on the show, and our interview with Clemente Lisi about the National. We've got Making the Grade, where we cover everything about the world of grading with a lot of info from the previous week. We've got our stamp of approval. Jeff and I give our 2 thumbs up to something, anything, could be from any part of the world. You never know if it's going to be sports, food, a TV show, something else. You never know. We've got the Vern Rapp Minute covering deaths in the world of sports, celebrity, music, movies, politics, anybody you might consider TTMing. If they've died, we're going to try to let you know about it. And of course, the main reason why we all are here, our TTM Returns.
And Drew, you have become the international stamp expert for the show.
I have. Yeah,
you want that title, but you have been, because we got a couple of emails today this week from listeners, and Drew helped them out, I hope.
Yeah, I like it because I can kind of add a little bit more research onto it as well. Because when I put my initial list together, I think I had maybe about 15 or 20 countries or so on there. And we got to a question about one that I didn't have any info on. So it's like, all right, let's start digging into Spain here and see what we can find. So I was able to do that.
Very cool. So guys, we love to hear from you. We love questions. If you have any questions about anything about cards, collecting, autographs, food, right? Movies, anything we love, just send us an email to
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
That is the most powerful email in the hobby, guys. And we will follow up. Either we'll follow up directly or we'll answer on the show. So guys, thank you. We really appreciate your feedback. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show and you want to be in Collector's Corner, we'd love to hear from you as well. So keep up the emails and we really appreciate it. All right, Drew, we got all our housekeeping done, right?
Yes, we did.
Next up is, let's go right into Baker's Dozen.
Baker's Dozen, sponsored by SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Smart collectors turn to Sports Collectors Daily to stay up to date. From new releases to incredible collections hitting the auction block, news from inside the business of sports collectibles, and much more, Sports Collectors Daily has it, all with no subscription cost. SC Daily also delivers a live look at the most watched sports card auctions on eBay for every sport. Sign up to get the headlines in your email for free or just visit the website whenever you like. With 16,000 stories in the archive going back 16 years, there's always plenty to read at SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Baker's Dozen is a news summary of what's been going on in the hobby. A lot of stuff going on. For a couple things, first, guys, if you want to get a $10 coupon from Collects, that is free. You get $10 to use in their marketplace. You get $10 to buy any card you want. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is send me your name and hopefully your Collects username and email address, and we will get you a $10 coupon directly from Collects. You don't have to do anything, but you do have to make sure you are signed up for Collects, because if you're not signed up for Collects, that Collects can't send you the coupon. So send me your name and your Collects name and your email address, and we will get you a $10 coupon from Collects. Just put $10 or a Collects coupon in the subject line, and we'll send the information off to Collects, and they will send you the coupon. So thank you, Collects, for the $10 coupons. I know the first batch of coupons has already been sent out, and hopefully you got that and you've started redeeming your coupons if you requested one. So thank you, guys. And if you want to get a $10 Collects coupon, send an email to us at
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
All right, guys, thank you. Secondly, I went to I was at the Red Sox game, and Jim Lonborg, 1967 Cy Young Award winner, was there, and I got a 5x7 autograph card of his, and I'm going to raffle that off. We're going to give one away. I'm going to give it away next week on next Saturday's show. So if you want to win a Jim Lonborg autograph card, put Lonborg in the subject line and just send me your name and your mailing address. Name and mailing address, Lonborg in the subject line. We're going to give away a 5x7 Jim Lonborg autograph card, signed card. He signed it, Jim Lonborg's 1967 Cy Young winner. So it's a nice little freebie, and Jim's a great signer, and he's been on the show before. So if you want to win, we're going to raffle one of those off and give it away on next Saturday's show. So you got to get it to me by end of day Friday, because we'll pick the winner on next Saturday's show. Just send it to us at
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
and put Lonborg in the subject line, and make sure you put your name and your mailing address. And if you haven't got it by now, Drew gets a quarter every time he sends the email address. So that's in his contract. So I can't even say the email address. So a couple times I've said it in interviews and I feel bad and I give Drew the quarter, but that is in his contract, right, Drew?
Yep. Yes, exactly.
And Drew has a tough agent. We've got to really, we do not step on Drew's agent toes.
I'll give a little hint. It's actually my cat Callie is the one that negotiated that deal for me. So
yeah, but his wife's the one that's the toughie.
That's true. Yeah.
You don't mess with Jen. You do not mess with Jen, right?
Exactly.
All right, we have some auction news. We've been talking about this for 2 weeks now, Drew.
Yeah, we do. We've this is a big card. It's one of only two known PSA 10 Pete Maravich rookie cards from that 1970, the Tall Boy set there. And when we first talked about this, I was kind of surprised, that the bidding was only at like $50,000 for it. Then it got up to 90,000. Like, all right, yeah, that's getting closer to what I expected. And
Right, and it just
that was with a
stalled.
couple.
It stalled.
Yeah, that was with, it had that like a week or so left in it, and with a few days left in it, it was still at 90,000. It's like, man, that's a shock. I figured it was gonna be at least a 6-figure card, and well, we saw it over the last couple days or so there. It absolutely exploded. Final sale price on July 6th, $552,000 for that card. So that's a 6-fold increase over those last couple days there. So whoever the owner was on that, great on you for being able to haul that in there. And yeah, such a bidding frenzy at the end, which we said might happen because that's what happened with the Mickey Mantle card last summer that went up for auction. So yeah, cool to see that. And good to see that my brain was in the right spot there, thinking that, yeah, that should be a lot higher than it is.
I'm sure there was 2 or 3 guys that just wanted that card, and that's all you need, right? You just need 2 guys that want it.
Yep.
With a few dollars in their pocket. So it's I love to see that. Hey guys, I hate reporting this. The cost of stamps is going up. On Monday, it's going up to 66 cents, and it sucks.
Yeah. It does. Especially because a lot of these ones I don't use typically the forever stamps. I like, kind of personalizing the stamps on these things and getting, kind of cool and different ones. So I'm putting 63 cents of postage on all those things. Now it's up to 66. Like, oh, great. Hopefully it still gets delivered, just comes postage due or something like that. And usually it has, but still it's like, I don't like chancing that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's not fun.
Right, true. I'm going to take the next one, and then you take the Nationals. Okay.
Okay.
All right. See, that's behind the scenes stuff, guys. We just flipped the script. So there's a new what do we want to call it? A new social media site. It's called Thread.
Yeah.
It is part of it is owned by isn't that horrible? I had a brain freeze.
Trying to remember who it was. Was it Instagram that owns it?
Instagram. Sorry, thank you. Yeah. It's owned by Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's just like Twitter, and Twitter's having all sorts of problems and all sorts of Elon Musk stuff, and they're putting in all sorts of things to stop Twitter from being what Twitter has been. And literally, I think 3 days, over 70 million people have signed up for Thread. So we are on Thread. I am on Thread at TTMcast. Please follow me. So if you do go and sign up for Thread, make sure you follow TTMcast, because I've got a couple thousand followers on Twitter, and we want to keep Thread going, because I really love Twitter, and we just got to make sure we don't lose that way to communicate with our fans. So if you do sign up for Thread, make sure you follow TTMcast. All right, that's just please. We don't want to lose communication with you guys. Drew, we have a bunch more signers at the National. I'm surprised they're announcing signers this late in the game.
Yeah, a little surprising, but I seem to remember the last couple of years, they sometimes even add them like the first couple of days of the National, it seems like. So like, I think in last year, like Dale Murphy got added very late to the list. So you never know how late they're going to be added on there, but yeah, we're still getting a few more right now. Lawrence Taylor has just gotten added from the New York Giants, Hall of Famer right there. A couple baseball Hall of Famers, Reggie Jackson and Jim Palmer, have been added on the list as well. And Coach Urban Meyer from Florida, from Ohio State, from the a very short term as the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach. So
yeah, what do you have, about 3 weeks?
Seemed like it. Yeah. I don't think he even lasted that first season as a whole. So wow, that's but yeah, legendary college coach there at the very least. So some big names being added in there, and bigger news as well. VIP tickets now sold out for the show. You can still get your daily tickets. So if you want to go and check out like a single day or a couple days of the show, go and do it that way. I think it's usually $25 in advance, and I think $30 at the door on those, usually about a $5 difference on those. So if you want to go, save yourself a couple bucks, buy them in advance, and just figure out which day you want to go in advance and do it that way.
Drew, I can't believe that we have so many new releases. I think everyone's kind of all these manufacturers are getting ready for the National by having a lot of new releases. I thought they'd kind of hold off for a couple weeks, but there's a lot of new stuff coming up this week.
Yep, got to crank it all out right before you get out there, I guess. So Panini with a big one right off the bat is their Chronicles Draft Picks Football for 2023. This has all of the most recent picks all in it. You're going to see in a box there, you'll get 8 cards per pack, 6 packs per box, 4 autographs, and a memorabilia card in each of those boxes. It's a $180 price tag on it, and I've done some work on that one, so I think it's a pretty good product if I do say so myself. Got some real fun stuff in there.
Yeah, it's always a great looking product. Guys, we got some hockey from Upper Deck, 2022 Upper Deck Skybox Metal Universe Champions. I guess it's not hockey, right? It's kind of everything.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you never know what you're going to get out champions. It's kind of like their version of Alan Ginter.
Yeah, so you get 3 Skybox premium cards plus 3 base set retros from 1997-98, and they're going for $250. That's 2022 Upper Deck Skybox Metal Universe Champions.
Got some basketball coming from Panini as well for 22-23 Panini Obsidian basketball. You're going to get a 1 pack of 7 cards in there. You get 2 autographs, 2 inserts or parallels, and 3 base cards. And Obsidian always has some really cool looking designs there, and I'm sure this year is going to be no different on that. $270 will be that one.
Yeah, a lot of hobby buzz for this one. A lot of people are looking for this one. Guys, we have 2022-23 Panini Chronicles Soccer. We talked about that with Clemente coming up, but there's 15 cards per mini box. You get 3 mini boxes, you get 3 autos or memorabilia, get basically 1 per mini box. Those are going for $280 to $290. That's 2022-23 Panini Chronicles Soccer.
Got a 22-23 Bowman University Best Basketball coming out as well. Hobby box is around $120 there. It's a 100 card base set with 2 chrome autos per box.
Another one that's getting a lot of hobby buzz is Topps Finest came out, 2023 Topps Finest hobby boxes. There's 100 cards in the base set. You get 2 chrome autos, and that's going for $234. That's on Topps.com. They were available as of yesterday, so check it out. Topps Finest 2023 for $234. Well, Drew, that wraps up our Baker's Dozen for the week, and let's get right into Collector's Corner.
And now it's time for Collector's Corner. Let's hear from our collector this week.
This segment is sponsored by Collects, the free app for scanning and valuing your cards. Check out the new Collects marketplace to sell and buy cards. Turn the hobby into your side hustle today. So this week on Collector's Corner, I'll get it right. I'm stumbling this morning.
Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling.
Rumbling, bumbling, and stumbling. That's me. Collector's Corner this week. I spoke with TTMer and collector Kurt Humbertson. He is from West Virginia. He is a big-time collector. He collects sets. He collects autographs. He is a collector of TTM with his son, and it was really fun to talk to him about his path and what he loves to collect. So please enjoy my interview with TTMer and collector Kurt Humbertson. All right, guys, it's time for Collector's Corner. And I'd like to welcome Scott Humbertson. He is from Virginia, West Virginia. Get it right, West Virginia. He is a huge TTM. He collects sets. He loves the Braves. Well, we won't hold that against him. Cal Ripken Jr., Robin Yount, and Dave Dravecki. Welcome to the program, Kurt.
Thanks, Jeff. Pleasure to be here. And just to set the record straight, it's Kurt Humbertson, not Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Kurt, didn't I?
You said Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
It's my Boston accent. I apologize.
I hear you.
All right, pal. You know what? I know you recently got back into the hobby after being out for 25 years. You got back to the hobby in 2019. What brought you back into the hobby?
Well, interesting story, Jeff. My son, who was 7 at the time, was on his first all-star baseball team. And the coach, after the season ended, gave them each a pack of cards to open. And he and I sat down and ripped it together. And the flood of nostalgia just swept over me. And it brought me right back to being, 10, 11, 12 years old in the late 80s and opening cards. And there was a card shop, or there still is, in Huntington, West Virginia, that I used to drive by every day on my way to work. And a few days later, I drove by it, and I got to stop in there and see what's going on. It's been ages since I've been in a card shop. And once again, the flood of nostalgia, the smell, just the clutterness that I remember as a kid going into card shops, and when I grew up in Cumberland, Maryland. the owner had 87 Donruss packs for 50 cents a piece, which this is definitely pre-COVID era. And I bought several packs, came home and opened them with my son. And one of the first cards I pulled was a Barry Bonds rookie card. And it just, again, brought back the nostalgia, and it's been full pedal to the metal ever since.
Did you have a lot of the cards from when you were a kid?
Not a whole lot. I had all my Braves cards, Cal Ripken, Robin Yount. I had all those cards in a binder that I still have. My only complete set as a kid was 91 Upper Deck that I got as a Christmas present. Still have that. And some random, 660 count boxes of random junk wax that I still have. And don't even really count that as part of my current collection, because those are cards that I just will never get rid of. They're not worth anything, but the few that I have from my childhood, they are here to stay. When
did you start getting into TTMing?
It was towards the end of that same year, 2019. I had been on Twitter for a while, but really never did anything with it. And a good friend of mine, Seth Eddy, who is on Twitter, we went to college together. He's been into card collecting for years and years. And he kind of got me into the Twitter card community, and I started fooling around with it, and I started seeing all these hashtag TTM, and I'm like, what in the world is this? What's it mean? What do we do here? And so I reached out to a couple people, and they gave me some insight, and I found the Sports Card Forum website, free to sign up, got a lot of addresses from there. And as I was perusing, who am I going to send a card to? Who's going to be my first target? And I couldn't think of anyone better than Sid Bream. As a Braves fan growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, Sid Bream's one of my favorites, and I could tell he had a nearly 100% success rate. Let's give this a shot. So I, sent 4 cards, a letter of request. I think he was charging $1 a piece a card, and in the mail it went. And every day I would sit, I could come home from work and like a little kid, run to the mailbox. Did it come yet? Did it come yet? And then 7 days later, lo and behold, there's my handwriting on a self-addressed stamped envelope back to me, and the card signed. And it was just a really cool experiment. And it really got me into the neat thing I like about the TTMs is I enjoy getting stars returned to me. I've gotten, I think some of my better ones have been Ryan Sandberg, Wade Boggs, Bill Mazeroski, Brooks Robinson, some decent names in there, but I really enjoy sending to the rarely known or the
cup of coffee guys.
The cup of coffee guys that no one really knows much of their history. And when I find a guy that does sign and I send a card, I will do a little internet research, learn about the guy. What is there anything unique about the little bit of time they spent? And it really draws me closer to the players and the history of the game. I think Carmen Fanzone was one that returned a card to me, and I learned that he played trumpet, I believe, as a national anthem to a game that he played in. Never knew that interesting tidbit before, and just that's the neat little nuances I love of the hobby.
Do you go and purchase cards to send out for TTMing, or the other way around? You go through your existing
I mainly go through my existing collection. I was fortunate enough to buy a large lot off of Chris Burkhart, who has TCB cards on Twitter, back in late 20. I think there are a lot of junk wax cards in there, but it was a huge lot that he was getting rid of, and I bought it from him, and I pull a lot from those. If there's someone specific that I really want and I don't have any other cards, it's off the local card shop, try to find some. I have been guilty of going to FeeBay and buying a card here and there
I do it all the time, my friend, all the time.
If it's something I really want, but mostly through my collection. And like I said, the oddballs, the one-offs, if it's a card that looks cool, one of those 84 Fleer cards that have the unique background or something that the player's holding, I'll look to see if they still sign, and off it goes. So
I do the same thing. If I see a cool in action card, especially vintage, I like, please, I hope this guy signs, because it looks so cool signed.
Yes.
Now you're working on a lot of sets, some vintage sets as well as some junk era sets. The one that really interests me is you're working on the 57 top set. How did you decide to go for that one?
It's a good question. I think somewhere along the lines in late 20, I came across a handful of, I like to say, well-loved 57 Topps cards. They weren't in pristine condition by any way, shape, or form. And I knew that my budget wouldn't allow me to build a set of that nature in pristine condition. So I thought I'd take it upon myself to build slowly the 57 Topps set in whatever condition I can find. If it's got pinholes, great. Paper loss on the back, it'll be loved here in this collection. And I've always liked that set just because of the color, the simplicity of the design.
Yeah, it's a really clean looking set, isn't it?
It is. It is very clean. You know, I love all sets from that era, but like the ones that are horizontally or landscape displayed, I just, something about looking at those in a binder when you have to turn your head to them. It's just, that's why I like the 57 set. And so now I'm right at 80% complete on that set, but a lot of big names left. A lot of Hall of Famers. Of course, the Mickey Mantle's still yet to be found. And
yeah, well, you have Williams.
I'm sorry,
Ted Williams. You have Ted
do
Williams.
not have Ted Williams. The probably the best one I have so far is Frank Robinson rookie card.
Okay, that's a nice.
I was able to find that early on in COVID off eBay for a pretty decent price, and of course the price on that card has skyrocketed since. But
are you a grading guy? Do you like sending your cards in to get graded?
I have never sent a card in to grade. I think I have 2 cards in my collection that are graded, and I got them just because they were dirt cheap.
Yeah.
I love a raw card. I love the feel of just holding that cardboard that's 50, 60, 70 years old. Now my son, he has some graded cards. He's 11 years old. And again, we do this hobby together. So we don't open a pack of cards without each other. I know I see guys
Nice.
open cards in the parking lot in their car. We don't do that. I wait till we get home, and it's it's an event around here when we have a hobby box or something to open. So he's big into it with me, and he likes the graded cards, but I'm old school. I like the raw cards.
How many cards a week do you think you send out for TTM?
So lately, I have to admit that life has gotten in the way.
It always does, my friend. It always does.
So when I started this, late 19, early 20, of course, it was right before COVID hit. March of 20, my job at the time said, hey, go home, work from home, don't come back until we tell you to. So I had 24 months of working, as I'm sitting here, because I'm actually at my house now, working right next to my card collection. And I'll tell you, not a lot of work got done, except for TTM.
Wait, we won't tell you, boss, that one.
Well, I've since moved on to a different job, so they can know all they want. But anyhow, I just would start perusing through Sports Card Forum and finding guys that, had good success rates. And that's how I started to kind of really get hooked in it. And I was sending probably, I hate to admit this, 20, 30 a week.
Wow.
Out. I mean, my postage cost was ridiculous. Now recently, like I said, I'm back into my normal job of out visiting clients with what I do, and so my time at home is less than what it has been. Plus, my son's big into baseball right now with this time of year, so I think I've sent only 20 out total this year.
Okay.
In the first half of the year, so I've slowed up a bit, but still have, I think, around 80 some out there in queue floating around somewhere, and getting back, here and there.
I know you collect in the 2022 Topps Heritage set. Do you enjoy Heritage to send out for TTM? And
I don't send a lot of modern cards.
Okay.
During spring training, I'll try to get some out to the spring training sites. But again, with my inception into this hobby right during COVID, a lot of the modern players weren't signing a whole lot. Spring training didn't really happen in 20. All of 20, we were up in limbo with whether we were even going to have a season. So I just never really got into sending to the current players as much. I love the Topps Heritage Series, though. I always try to, in fact, I've got every year since 19 partially done. I'm trying to work on those short prints, but my son and I, we will build the modern sets together, and then I kind of focus on the vintage myself.
How do you display your cards? Do you have them in books? Do you have them framed in places? How do you display your stuff?
I have some in frames on walls. I have some in frames on little card or picture frames on my TV stand. But mostly I have two, well, actually it's going on 3 large binders right now. And I'm I'm a nerd when it comes to organizing. Everything is alphabetical by last name. So there's a lot of shifting as I put in. In fact, I've got a stack over here about 100 cards that still need to go into binders. But every once in a while, I'll pull out a binder and start flipping through it. And it's of course always a sad day when you find one that has passed away. And I'll go back and revisit that card. And Phil Necro was one of the first ones I had sent to and returned, and he passed away, I think, within 2 months after I had received the card back. So, that's always a sad day. But a lot of these older guys, and that's why I focus on the vintage cards and sending out. They're not going to stay around forever, and if we don't hurry up and just have that connection with them and get that card signed and returned is kind of my goal.
Does your son send out TTMs by himself, or do you guys do it together? And do you handwrite the notes?
The TTMs are, for the most part, something I do. He enjoys watching what I get back and seeing him, but like I said, he's 11, so I don't think he quite understands and appreciates getting those signatures back from the older players. If it's a new one, random that I get, like I said, I don't send that out that often. He enjoys getting those back, but he's kind of the youth of the card hobby, where they enjoy pulling the on-card autos out of a pack of cards and getting the hits out of hobby boxes and stuff like that.
Does his friends collect as well?
There are some of his teammates in his little league and travel ball team that collect. In fact, there's 2 or 3 that I don't want to say I've taken under my wing, but I keep their favorite players in the top of my head. So when I go to a card shop, I will try to find some for them. And it's always neat to see their faces light up when you say, hey, so-and-so, come here, I got something for you. Then you hand them a stack of, one kid loves Javier Baez, and, I'll find some of his cards and just his face lights up. And I've gotten some of my friends who are around my age, I've gotten to come into the hobby with me. So the recruiting is heavy.
Have you been following what's been going on with Topps and Fanatics and how?
I have to a degree. I'll be honest. I'm a little just still confused over what that looks like, and I think it seems like everything is up in the air in the future as far as what's going to happen, what Fanatics is going to do. But it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think we're at the beginning. I think we're in inning 1 of a 9-inning game with Fanatics, and I think they zig and zag. Sometimes I'm really excited about it, and sometimes I'm like, what are they doing?
Agreed. Agreed.
So it'll be interesting. Does your I'm interested in your son collecting, because that's the lifeblood of our hobby to keep it going. And do you think do you see him sticking with it as he gets older?
I do. I wouldn't say he's hot and heavy into it, but there was a card show in Huntington here a couple weeks ago, and we went, and just watching him go out and talk to the vendors and find a card that he likes, and he'll come up to me and say, "Hey, Dad, there's this card's they want $5 for this Acuna Jr. card." I'm like, "Okay, well, do you think it's worth that?" "Well, I'd only pay $3 for it." I said, "Well, go negotiate with him." And then just watching him negotiate with the vendor and get the card for $3. There's a lot of life lessons to be had by collecting. So I try to teach that to him. But he really does enjoy it. He's got his own the way he sorts his cards, and kind of drives me nuts. But if that's the way you want to sort them, fine, but go for it. He really does enjoy it. In fact, he's sitting over here with me right now, and we were gonna open a couple packs as a celebration here in a little bit. But no, he really does enjoy it.
Do you use any of the online tools in collecting? You make collects or card ladder or any of the other tools that are out there? Do you use any of those?
Trading card database is what I primarily use.
Yep.
I'd say 95% of the time I'm on that site. Again, I kind of nerd out when it comes to my collating and my organizing my collection. So I would say 90% of my collection is logged on trading card database.
Nice.
I'm showing right around 150,000 cards logged on there, and do a lot of trades through that. That's another cool feature of this hobby that has definitely changed since I was last in it 25 years ago. I used to trade cards on the playground, and now we're trading cards through mail across continents.
Through our computer.
Through our computer. So it's really cool. I've met a lot of cool guys on trading card database to trade with periodically. Definitely help with set builds, and as well as getting TTM cards to sign or to get sent out to sign as well.
What are some of the recent TTMs you've got back? So you let our listeners know some guys that have been signing.
So recently I just got back Mike Prawley, 81.
Oh, yeah, I saw that posted yesterday, right?
Yes, just got that one yesterday. And again, a not very well known player, but it was the 81 Donruss card with him in the early 80s Chicago White Sox uniforms with a giant blue leisure suit type collars on it. I couldn't pass that.
Is that why you picked to send him a card? Because
that's absolutely
it's
why.
like Mike Prawley. Why would anyone send him?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's really cool.
And that's, again, I nerd out with it, but I absolutely love just getting the random ones back. George Foster, got him back.
Did you pay the $10?
Did pay the $10. Actually, no, it was $5. One card, $5. So, and again, we haven't sent that many this year. Mike Trio, Jack McDowell. Again, not a lot of huge names recently, but Danny Tartable. But like I said, a lot of the bigger names I've gotten back since I've been doing this was the Bill Mazeroski, Dusty Baker, Will Clark, Jim Palmer, Carl Erskine. And a lot of the older guys, I have a lot that have taken the time to write out a full page note back to me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you ask a question and have you gotten any responses?
A lot of times with the older ones, yes, I will ask a simple question, and I've had them give a simple answer back on an index card, or they've sent a full-on bio sheet. Bob Aspromonte was one of the first ones I sent to, and he sent a bio sheet about being one of the first Colt 45 members of that team in the early 60s. Carl Erskine sent a real detailed letter back. Frank Thomas, the original Frank Thomas, sent a nice letter back as well.
He was the best, wasn't he?
He was, absolutely. Eddie Robinson, of course, he used to have a podcast before he passed away, and that was interesting to listen to his stories of firsthand accounts of playing in the 50s and 40s and 50s, and he sent a nice letter back as well. So, and that's the neat thing, just connecting with these past players that, when in today's age, being a baseball player is 24/7. You make your money on it. Back then, they barely scraped by. It was something they did as a true passion to the game. So being able to connect with these players that, played for peanuts and have all these great stories to tell is just one of the things that I love about doing this.
Do you have a favorite return? Not necessarily the most valuable one, but something, a return that you didn't think you wouldn't get, or some guy, one of the guys that you were really a fan of. Do you have a favorite return?
You mentioned one of my favorite players is Dave Dravecky, and you talk about, he's fairly well known, but he's definitely not your Hall of Fame type player. But I remember as a kid getting that 90s scorecard of him in the arm sleeve and hearing the story about the cancer, and of course at that point how he almost lost his arm, and then a year later how he did. It was just a story that always struck me with his his faith and his desire to stay with the game, even though facing the most challenging situation he was facing. And he was one of the first ones I sent to back in early 20, and he sent it signed and sent right back. And that was a neat one. I mean, I knew I would get it back. He was a good good percentage of getting him back, but just being able to, again, to have that connection. Bill Mazeroski, growing up close to Pittsburgh, that was always a name I heard a lot of. So being able to say I have the autograph of the guy who hit the walk-off home run in the World Series. It's just those are the ones that I really treasure.
Do you have a white whale, somebody that you really need to get or want to get?
Again, not a huge name, but Chris Sabo. I was always a big Sabo fan in the late 80s,
I've gotten him.
90s. And I sent to him at University of Akron. He was a baseball coach. I assume he still is, but have just not gotten it back. I heard a lot of people have hit and miss with him, so I may need to send out again, but was really trying to get that 89 Topps Gold Cup card side of his, and it's still hanging in limbo.
Are you collecting any sets signed? Or
89 Topps.
89 Topps.
Funny
Okay.
you mentioned that. So 89 Topps was the set that got me into the hobby in 1989. Older relative of my mother's purchased a couple packs of 89 Topps at a Kmart in Hagerstown, Maryland in 89. And I remember coming home and opening them, and Tony Gwynn was the first card, one of the first cards I pulled that I remembered.
Yep.
And so that set's always held a special place in my heart. It's complete. I get it. It's junk wax. It's not worth hardly anything, but I never pass up 89 Topps in factory sets, or I have thousands and thousands and thousands of 89 Topps cards. So that's a set that I'm loosely trying to get as many signed as possible. In fact, my recent count as of last week's 168. So
that's nowhere
close, but 168 different cards. In fact, the most recent was Kevin Reynolds, who has 3 cards: the record breaker, his base card, and he's on the team card for 89 Topps Mets. So he signed all 3 of those for me. That was nice to get back. But yeah, that set's what kind of started it for me as a 10-year-old in 89. And in fact, one of the things I'd found out and heard about on Twitter recently was a wallet card. Well, what's a wallet card? And these guys will keep a card in their wallet, take it around all throughout the year, and might tweet photos of the card in random places as they visit throughout the year. And of course, I decided to do that this year. And what card could I pick to be the inaugural wallet card for me but the Tony Gwynn 89 Topps. So
nice.
If you follow me on Twitter, he will make random appearances throughout the year in certain places that I travel. So
Kurt, why don't you give out your Twitter IDs if people want to follow you? And I know you're on Trading Card Trader as well, the trading base. Why don't you give that out as well?
Absolutely. So on Twitter, I am at FlyinWV79. So that's at FLYINWV79. And then on Trading Card Database, I'm simply Vintage Braves. So you can look me up on there, open to trades of all kinds, small, large. And again, just love interacting with the fellow card members on Twitter and Trading Card Database, and it's just been a lot of fun to get to know some of these guys and interact. And when I can, where I can, we try to meet up at a card show or whatnot, and just it's been a fun community to be a part of.
You got a lot of reaction from your Mike Proley post. What are some of the other popular posts they have? Because you post a lot. You post a lot during the week.
I do. I try to keep. It's all about just randomness. I'm going through a few on here. I was opening up a box of 21 Topps Series 2 with my son a few days ago, and there was a card in there where it just looks like the guy's head was superimposed on his body, and just random things like that. It's just fun to shoot out and try to get people's reactions to it. But there's a lot of great guys on there that do trade threads, buy sell trade threads. Sunday there's one that Sunday mornings that it's a giveaway, and I try to occasionally throw something on there just as I don't need anything back, but hey, here's a couple cards. If anybody wants them, I will send to you for free. So it's just the interaction on Twitter to buy sell trade with guys and just share best practices and learn what's going on in the hobby.
Isn't it weird that even at our age, it's still get a thrill to rip open a pack of cards or get a card in the mail? It never ceases to amaze me.
I just hope that I never get old enough where that's not a fun thing anymore. Just the thrill. And again, that's why I share it with my son. In fact, we had gone to the card show last 2 weeks ago and bought several boxes to rip. And then he went in, we had a baseball tournament and he spent a couple nights at a friend's house, and it was driving me crazy because he wasn't home to open the cards with. And I'm sitting here looking at these open boxes going, what could be in these packs? There's so much goodness that could be in here, and he's not here to share it. So hurry up and get home. But yeah, just the thrill that he and I share together, opening these packs and, the numbered cards. And it doesn't matter, if it's a big card or not, just pulling something that we like or something that we're collecting and building sets. It's fun. And like I said, I get the UPS daily inform email every morning around 7:30. I know what's coming in my mailbox, and there's some days where I just can't. I have to maybe leave a half hour early from work to get home and grab that TTM or that trade that's coming in the mail.
You're one of us, Kurt. You're one of us.
I enjoy being one of you guys.
That's very funny. What's your wife's feeling on it? Does she understand what's going on, or she just kind of supports you because you're dealing with something your son can do together? Or I find most women just don't understand it.
I don't know that she completely understands it, and that's fine. I don't think I want her to. She does support it. She and again, realizing the time frame in which I got back into the hobby with COVID starting up, I think everyone needed something to pass the time, something to kind of get them away from the reality that was happening at the time. Yep. And cards was that for me. So we had my mother-in-law had late stage dementia, and in the last 5 years or so we dealt with that, and she passed away in May of 2020.
Sorry about
that. And so even my wife needed some kind of break. So she understood what that was doing for me, what the hobby was doing for me, and giving me that little bit of release and focus on something that wasn't so negative at that time. So she understands, or she gets it enough to support me, and she doesn't nag me too much. My card room can be very scattered at times when I'm sorting, and she just kind of leaves me be to do it. So I'm blessed.
Good for you. It's good for you. Guys, it's Kurt Humbertson. He is at Flying WB79 on Twitter. Follow him. He posts all the time. He's a great Twitter guy. I follow him. He collects more sets than I could care to collect. I don't know how you keep it all straight, Kurt, because there's so you collect in so many sets.
I'm always working on probably 6 to 8 sets at any given time. I've got the tops run done from 74 to 94 right now. Nice. I'm working my way backwards. So working on that 73 set now. Yeah,
I've got 73. I have 69 and 73, but I really like to start on the 70 set. That's my kind of I'm thinking about it. But it has all those high numbers, I hate paying money for high numbers.
I started my first set that I built was 79, which was my birth year set, and I decided just to work the 70 set backwards, and it's getting slower the further I work backwards with those early 70 sets. They're high numbers and whatnot, but it's been a lot of fun.
Well, Kurt, thank you very much. It's a great talking to you. Kurt is a TTMer. He's a set collector. Follow him on Twitter, guys. It's Flying WV79. You won't be disappointed because he's posting all the time. I really appreciate your time. Your son want to pop in and say hello? We'll make him famous.
Absolutely. Ethan, come on over. His name's Ethan.
Ethan?
And
Ethan
his
Humbertson,
name,
come on, Ethan.
come on, Ethan.
Ethan's 11 years old and he's collecting. Hey, buddy, tell me, do you enjoy ripping packs with your dad, or do you enjoy getting the mail with your dad? What's more fun?
Opening packs.
Opening packs. And who's your favorite player?
Ronald Acuña Jr.
All right, I know these brave guys. I understand. You'll grow out of that. All right, Ethan. Thank you. We're going to make you a superstar. All right.
All
All right, buddy. Thank you. Kurt, thank you for your time, my friend. And I'll be speaking with you. Okay.
Thanks, Jeff. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Be good.
All right, take care.
You too. Drew, Kurt's a real great collector, and it was nice to talk to him. The best part of Collector's Corner is talking to someone that's really passionate about collecting.
Yeah, and he's very active on Twitter too. Because as soon as you said that name a couple weeks ago, that hey, he's coming up, I'm like, I know that guy. I've seen him around on Twitter, I think. So yeah, he's a good follow on Twitter there too.
Yeah, he's a big time collector. So hopefully you enjoyed my interview with Kurt. Well, that closes out our Collector's Corner for the week. If you want to be in Collector's Corner, we'd love to have you. Just send us an email to
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
and we'll get you on the show. All right, Drew, it's time for Clemente's World. Clemente's World with Clemente Lisi. We had Clemente on last week. Clemente usually talks hockey and soccer and collectibles, but this week we talk a little collectibles a little at the beginning, but then we really talked to him about the national, upcoming national. I just made plans. Unfortunately, Drew, you're not going to be there, but Les and Clemente and I are going to get together for dinner one night, a Thursday night actually, after the national. So we'll set a place for you in abstention.
I'll just dial me up on Zoom, and I'll just like sit there and have put your phone on my plate or something like that.
So we talked to Clemente about the national. This is his second national going, and he gives some tips on how to have a successful national. We talk a little soccer and hockey collectibles. So please enjoy my time with Clemente in Clemente's World, and of course, this is Clemente Lisi.
If it's soccer, hockey, or collectibles, it's in Clemente's World. It's time for Clemente's World with Clemente Lisi. The Certified Collectibles Group is playing to win. CGC Trading Cards and CSG are combining into CGC Cards, solidifying its position as one of the world's largest and most prominent card grading services. With the merger, collectors get a number of upgrades, including the option to submit without a paid membership, a Gem Mint 10 grading scale, a sleek new label, a simplified submission process, and prices you are going to love. Grade all your cards with CGC Cards and visit cgccards.com today.
All right, guys, file this one under bonus. We love to give you bonuses, and today is a bonus. We get to have Clemente Lisi from Clemente's World, not talking about soccer and hockey stuff per se. We're going to talk a little national with Clemente, but first, Panini has a new release coming out this weekend. It's the 2022-23 Chronicles Soccer. You get 15 cards per mini box. There's 3 mini boxes inside. You can find 3 autographs and memorabilia cards, and they are from cards from Essentials, Phoenix, Gala, and more. So I guess a typical Panini Chronicles release, right, Clemente?
Yeah, typical Chronicles. The way they do it for soccer is they break it up into 3 separate leagues. They do La Liga, which is Spain, Serie A, Italy, and then the Premier League, which is England. And you have the usual crop of veterans and rookies, but people are chasing the parallels and the numbered cards, especially for rookies. It's just another one of these soccer sets that is coming out sort of at the end of the season. Probably should have came out a couple of months ago. But because I know another set's coming out too, the UEFA, what used to be the Champions League set, which is now the Cup set.
Is there a chase card or somebody that people should look out for? I forget what the price point on this thing is.
I think a box may be in the 200s, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I think it's 250. It's expensive for the number of cards you're getting, but because there are a lot of these numbered cards in it, people are looking for, particularly for soccer, it's not super popular, but the rookie ticket cards, those are becoming increasingly popular, like you see in football and other sports. So they're picking up steam as well. So oftentimes they want to get the rookies from those sets as a rookie ticket, and to see if they pan out, of course. But
Yeah, these boxes are from 280 to 290.
yeah, they're pretty expensive. What I
Which
would
is
do is I'd wait until the secondary market to pick up some singles. Because like I said, you're buying a lottery ticket sometimes with these sets, these boxes. But of course, you pay. I always say you're paying for the rip as much as you're paying for
I know who doesn't love to bust open packs, right?
Yeah, and what I like about Chronicles is that you get the 3 separate mini boxes in the one box, so it's kind of like you're opening 3 different, and each one is different leagues. So for soccer, you're getting a variety, which is cool. I think it's a fun buy. I won't be buying it because I'm in my national fast. So, but maybe in a few months or a few weeks.
Very cool. Did you pick up any of the stickers, the Women World Cup stickers?
No, not yet. But I do plan to do it. The Women's World Cup starts towards the middle of July, so in a couple of weeks. I haven't seen it out in the wild yet, but I may have to order it online. I haven't done so yet. I'm curious to see how much soccer, women's soccer, there will be at the national, just because it will be happening at the same time as the tournament. And I wonder if there'll be any. It's the only sporting event that's happening during the national that is not the baseball season, for example. So I'm curious to see if we'll see anything there or people coming prepared for that. Women's soccer is not as popular globally as men, but in the United States, women's soccer is pretty popular. So I'm curious to see. I think a lot of people that go to the national for soccer are international, and women's soccer is not a big deal in Europe. It's becoming a bigger deal. So I'd be curious. I'm curious about that to see how much.
Speaking of World Cup, Women's World Cup, are we going to see any of the matches live because of the time difference?
Yeah, the matches will be live. I think some of the U.S. matches may actually be on at 9 or 10 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
So, which is not terrible. It's almost like a West Coast game, as opposed to, in the past, whenever they've had the Olympics in Australia or something, you're getting stuff in the middle of the night, and that's not conducive to anyone watching. So I think it's gonna be early morning or late at night, but not overnight. So I think for people will be watching. I think it'll do very well. It's gonna be on Fox, and Fox will treat it like the Men's World Cup. They'll give it, wall-to-wall coverage. And look, it's a time of year where nothing is really happening other than the baseball season.
Right.
So I think it is. And then if the U.S. goes deep, which they are favored to, then people will be into it.
All right, I got a yawner for you. NHL not playoffs, free agency.
That was a yawner.
I know, NHL free agency. Oh my goodness, the NBA, they've had trades and guys moving all over the place, and it seems like every day there's something happening. The NHL, 1 or 2 deals here or there, but it's been basically a yawner, don't you think?
It's very conservative, and I wonder if it'll heat up later, or teams just not in the wheeling and dealing mood. I will say the most exciting thing about the summer has been the schedules came out a few weeks ago, and I was poring over the schedule to see who's playing on Thanksgiving or what's the outdoor game or whatever. That was more exciting to me than any movement. There hasn't been a lot of movement, and which means the card market won't move either because there's nothing happening. And, preseason starts in September. So there's going to be a bit of a hockey lull here, I think, unless they make big deals. Now the NBA is doing that, I agree. And then all the talk now is the NFL preseason.
Right, the NFL does it too. And then we have the Major League Baseball has the trade deadline coming up. Hockey's got to do something. I don't know what they got to tweak something. I don't know if it's a salary cap, if it's the promoting the sport better. Because it's frustrating to me, and I'm sure you as a fan, because it's such a great game. It's so fun to watch, but it's still regional. I don't know.
I agree that hockey's done a lot to push the finals into June, which is already something. But you're right. The NFL, for example, is only a 5-month season. For some reason, they're in the news 12 months out of the year. They managed to do that. So I do agree that hockey, you can't disappear from the radar totally, and they have. And maybe part of it is to give out the awards later, to make the draft later, because the draft shows up around the NBA one, and I will say the NBA draft takes up a lot of attention.
Right, and they did it this year. They did it right after the NBA draft, so everyone was so deep into the NBA draft that everyone forgot about the NHL draft. Really.
Sure, and when you're drafting a lot of Canadian and Russian guys, that's not sexy to Americans anyways. So I agree that there's something in the winter months that they definitely, in the summer months, that they definitely need to harness, because hockey is totally, you go to ESPN's homepage, or there's nothing there. No hockey.
I know.
And so that's a problem, because when you pop back up in September, only hockey fans are going to really care. Everybody else is not paying attention.
I know I don't want to make this how can we fix hockey if is it truly broken? Just like a thing like the Hall of Fame announcements. The Hall of those got lost. I'm a big fan, and honestly, I didn't realize that they were announcing Hall of Famers.
Right. No, I agree. And you got to create some more hoopla around that. I really do think. And I know the induction's in November, which often coincides with the Sport Card Expo. But hockey, they suffer from it's a very much a regional sport. New England, parts of Canada, whatever market wins the cup. I'm sure people in Vegas care about hockey this year, but it comes and goes, and it's needs to be more stable. Now in Canada, I give you an example. Hockey is a 12-month-a-year thing. People in Canada really,
sure.
I always say it's like soccer in Brazil. People are going to talk about it all the time, but it's not in the United States. Definitely not.
Yeah, it's really too bad because it's such a great game. All right, well let's get off all this card talk and stuff. We want to talk about the National, right? We're less than 20 days away from the National. How many Nationals have you been to?
So hard to believe, but I've only been to one prior National.
Oh wow! So you are a rookie.
I am like a rookie. Now it's funny because a lot of these big regional shows that are popping up, they're not as big as the National, but they're bigger than the card shows. I remember as a kid, I used to go to like my local church basement had a card show, So these regional shows that we get in Northeast or Dallas or wherever, they're pretty big. So if you go to those, it's not the National, but it's big. So Atlantic City was not the greatest venue. Now, the advantage I have is I've been to Chicago a couple of times for the Spectacular. So I know the layout, and that's a great venue. And so I'm looking forward to the hotels being nearby. You can basically walk from the hotel through a tunnel to the convention center. They've made the space larger.
Yeah.
All the stuff you hear about wearing comfortable shoes, that's all true. What I would also do is I'd pack some snacks because the food is usually not good and very expensive.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about it with Les last week, I think, and we were saying if you're gonna have lunch, eat lunch at like 10:30 or 11 o'clock. Because if you want to wait till 12 or 1 o'clock, you're gonna kill 3 hours.
Right. And you don't want to spend your time at the National online waiting for a hamburger when you should be looking at tables, right?
Right.
So I agree. So that's the other thing. Depending on how many days you're there for, I'm there for 5. I'm there for 4 of the 5.
Okay, good.
But you really want to use your time wisely because it will go by. And I noticed that last year when I was only there for like a day or two, and it will go by. And Atlantic City was not a great venue. You couldn't really go out. It was not ideal. Chicago's great. And I think it's going to be really fun. And it's going to be larger than ever in terms of square footage. So it's going to be, there's a lot of miles to cover. What I would do is I would try to section it in pieces because it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so
to say the least, right? You must have been the first time when you went last year, you must have been like, oh my goodness, look at all this stuff. Yeah, and then now they had the breaker section, which was loud, and there was a lot of buzz in the air.
Yeah, so what it is is you have the breaker section, and I'm not into breaking, so I didn't really care for that part. And then they have the corporate part, which is getting larger and larger. And that's fun to kind of pop in and out, but that's nothing really there for you unless you're getting a freebie or something. You would want to focus on the tables, but what I would do is you have to go with a want list. Like, what am I looking for? I'm looking for these 5 cards because it gives you purpose.
It can't be, Clemente, it can't be like, when if you go to the grocery store and you're hungry and you don't have a list, you get out of there with 20 things that you don't want or didn't want. Right. And you forget all the other stuff that you do want. And I think that's the same with the National, right? Because you could get to that first booth and literally blow your whole wad there at the first booth because there's so much stuff there.
So I would come, what I've been doing is I'm in my National Fast, I call it. So whenever I want a card, I just go on eBay and click on it on my, on my wish list. I don't buy it. And then my goal is to go to the National and see if I can find these 5 or 10 cards. I may not find them. What I like about the National, these big shows, I'm going to stumble upon something I've never seen before. And that's what I like. Like an insert from the 90s. I'm like, well, what is this card? I've never even seen it. Or maybe I saw it once in a magazine, but never in person. So you could be derailed a bit in your mission, but that's okay. Because part of it is the exploration. But you have to have not just a list, but also a budget. Like you said, it's like the National's like a casino. You don't want to just spend $1,000 at the first booth and then what are you going to do? But what I like about the National is also the socializing part. Like we'll hang out. I see people that I only talk to on the phone. And so it is kind of like, in that sense, a convention where people come together. And I like the socializing almost as much as the cards, because the truth is, anything you want, it could be found on eBay, but it's not the same experience. It's really
Right.
just
And
people.
you got to block off at least an hour with Sal.
Right. Oh, totally. What I do with him is, even when I went to Chicago to the Sports Spectacular, I would like do a couple of laps and then end up at his booth again. And then if he got busy, I had to like walk away because I'm like, he's working, you know. But yeah, the talking about sports, talking about hockey, talking about soccer, seeing what's out there, and then you really get a feel for what the hobby is like at the moment. Looking at eBay comp prices doesn't tell you much about the hobby. It's what's the mood out there. I think prices have gone down a bit.
Yeah.
People tell me that prices are down. I think if you're looking for vintage, the National is great for vintage. If you're looking for baseball, it's a lot of baseball, more than other sports. I do think basketball, football, hockey, soccer, they're coming up in terms of volume, but baseball and vintage baseball is really key. If you're looking for vintage baseball, draw up a list, because you will find what you need in many grades, and you're not going to walk away without a card for sure.
Right. And I think hockey is going to be very present, because of the Blackhawks and because of the excitement of getting the number 1 pick in the draft, and making a couple trades. Speaking of trades, we didn't even mention this. My boy Lucic is back with the Bruins. I'm so happy about that.
Yeah,
Lucic. I always loved him as a player.
Yeah, he's a good player, and yeah,
he's way past his prime. I understand that, but
but he has that toughness that teams need, and so even when you're at that age, you're still in demand. So no, yeah, totally, and I agree. Chicago's a proper hockey market. There aren't a lot of hockey signers, but that's a different story.
Which is unbelievable. I
would have brought back like an entire
Tony Esposito. Why don't you bring back Tony Esposito?
Yeah, I don't know why. I think they know their audience, and I think they think they're not going to get enough people wanting. I mean, if you look at the list, it's packed with people. So especially baseball, basketball, football, those are big. There's a few people I'm looking forward to trying to get autographs from. I think the key is a lot of these regional shows now have a lot of signers, a lot of these guys TTM, but the National brings in guys that are really superstar level, that don't buy in the mail or are very expensive. Like, for example, Reggie Jackson will be there. Now, I don't know how much he's going to charge. I know he charges $100 in the mail. Yeah. Now, you can get a Reggie Jackson autograph on eBay for like $40. So authenticated. So be aware of that. Be aware that if you can get him cheaper somewhere else, I understand that you're probably paying to shake his hand. That's part of it. I am looking forward to meeting a few people. I like the fact that Kurt. Who
are you gonna get?
I think I'm gonna get Kurt Warner, because his movie came out a couple of years ago, and it really, really got me. Like, I thought it was a great movie, and I had forgotten the adversity he went through to become a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I mean, it's a great story. It's a truly American story. And so I definitely want to meet him, and I want to get his autograph, and I want to get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who is a New York guy, and he's a legend, and actually
what are you going to have Jabbar sign, a card?
Yeah, I always sign cards. I don't, because of space issues. So I don't do baseballs or basketballs or jerseys, because I know that I won't be able to show them off, but cards are small. I can display them. And so I want to get cards. So what I've been doing is getting cards of these guys in the last couple of weeks, because you can't, that's another thing. There's no guarantee you can find their cards there. Or no guarantee you get a cheap card there. Like, if you're looking for like a $10 Kareem card, I mean, you may find his rookie card, but that's going to be very expensive and maybe slabbed, and you can't get an autograph. So I recommend, if you're going to the National and you want to get autographs, buy the baseballs, buy the cards now, bring them with you. If you're not traveling too far, I'm coming from New York, the cards won't weigh much, because when you're there, you don't want to be running around the showroom floor looking for even like dollar cards of these guys, because everyone's going to be doing the same thing maybe, and maybe you can't find them. And so, so don't do that. You'll be wasting your time. The important thing is like, if you ever played football and you understand time management, clock management, this is what the National is. You're on the clock the moment you walk in. And if you're there for the day, you're definitely on the clock, or 2 days. We're there for 4 days. I can spend a day where I'm going to be BSing with you, let's say,
right.
Or whatever.
Honestly, Clemente, I pick like 2 days where I don't think I buy anything. I won't buy anything unless something really jumps out at me. But like, I'm not on the hunt, so to speak.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You want to let it settle. Now, I know some people wait until Sunday because a lot of dealers don't want to take home their stuff. So the prices
I
go
found
down.
I got a lot of good bargains on Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. Now the problem with us, you and I, is if someone's trying to sell me like a 5,000 card thing, I'm not taking that to New York on an airplane. So that's going to
Right.
be, I can buy that. But if I'm looking for particular cards and the price goes down 10-20%, that's a good deal. Yeah, you can't buy bulk. If I lived in Chicago or had a car, sure, but I don't have that. I'm doing air travel with a carry-on, right? So you want to, I'm not going to be carrying a basketball with me to get signed.
Yep.
For example. So you got to manage that. And a lot of people will be driving there because they're in the Midwest, but people will be flying in from all over the country and indeed all over the world. Last year, I ran into soccer collectors from all over the world because they realized the National may not be a big soccer show, but it is. It's become a big global show because card collecting has become global now. And so people from England will come, from Germany. I'm curious to see if some of the stuff from last year will still be hot, like ticket stubs. That was a thing last year.
That was huge last year, weren't they?
And I wonder if that's a thing still or not. I don't know. You only know that by seeing it and by talking to dealers and collectors. You don't know that on eBay. You don't know that by going to your local show. So I go there to find trends that I can write about, over the course of the year.
Yep.
Talk to people because I want to see. I think the hobby is in good shape. I think a lot of the pandemic people went away. Remember last year there were a lot of these guys in those cases. I called them
the flippers not so much. You can't, especially new stuff. Because the manufacturers figured it out. Instead of charging $20 for a blaster box, now they're charging $35 or $40. So.
A couple of things have happened the last 6 months that have been sobering for the flippers. Wander Franco, Tatis, John Morant. People are like, wait, why did I spend $5,000 on that card? Like this guy he may never play again, or he's got a, what if he doesn't come back and he's the player he used to be? So people realize, I said 2 years ago, but everyone's been saying it. Go vintage, buy vintage. You're looking for Don Mattingly's rookie. Don Mattingly isn't going to get hurt. If anything, he'll go in the Hall of Fame. It'll get better. His card will get better.
Right.
So
Drew and I were talking about that in terms of, guys like Justin Herbert, who I detest. I shouldn't say detest, but I don't think he's the next coming, if you know what I mean. I think Burrow is much better, but his most valuable card or most expensive card sold is, a couple $100,000.
Right.
But Peyton Manning, his most expensive card sold is like $10,000. It's unbelievable how the difference.
Yeah, and Peyton Manning is someone who is a Super Bowl winner, but not only that, he's still in the spotlight. He's got his own show. He's a cultural icon. And so that's another thing I wish that I know he canceled it, but I was looking forward to getting Joe Montana because I think Joe Montana.
No, he's coming.
Oh, he's coming. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back on. So he's definitely
he had a scheduled conflict, and I saw it yesterday. Montana will be.
But I know he was on, then he was off the list. And to me, Joe Montana, no offense to Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the GOAT, but Joe Montana, you can make a case for Joe Montana. And so I definitely want to get Joe Montana because I think he's an iconic. I grew up, not rooting for him, but just seeing just an amazing athlete. And ESPN.com ran a feature story about him and about his life today. And he just seems like a really cool guy, and even at his age. And so these are the kind of guys you want to meet. I think the people our age get to meet the people that you saw on television growing up. And we don't really get we don't get awestruck that much. I mean, you interview people, I interview people, we do journalism. Right. But there's still some guys that when you see, you're like, wow, this guy's a legend. Like,
yeah, like Larry Bird would do that for me. I've met Kevin McHale 1,000 times, and I've sat down and talked to him the whole 9 years. I'm not bragging or anything. I'm just saying, and he's like just a regular guy to me. But Larry Bird is like Larry Bird,
right? And the only other
and Bobby Orr, I would be like, I'd be like bowing at his feet.
The only other person that's going to get the national that intrigues me is Dennis Rodman, because he too is a cultural type icon, and I wonder, how he is with people, and and he's had kind of a mixed career in terms of popularity and all. But
have you heard my Dennis Rodman story?
I do not know it.
Okay, so in Wilmington, they have the Shriners show every year, and this was a while ago, probably it might have been 15 or 20 years ago actually. Rodman, if he hadn't been still playing, he just retired, and they have this big room. They have the room with all the booths and stuff, and then they have another room set aside that it's the bar, but it's all where all the autographs are. So I'm just sitting at a round table, just watching everything, kind of dazing off into the distance. And I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden, Rodman stands up from his table and says, "What's your problem, buddy? What are you looking at? What did I do to piss you off?"
You're like, I'm daydreaming.
I didn't even know he was there. That's
Why?
how.
Oh boy. So he thought you were staring at him.
Yeah. He thought I was staring. He thought I was staring him down, and I was just in another world thinking about something else. And
Also, he's like, I don't know, 10 feet tall, so I don't know what he was worried about.
yeah, he was like, "Sorry, Dennis."
So you'll be far away from him at the National.
Yeah, no. I don't know if the autograph pavilion, because I have the mobility scooter, so I skip all those lines for autographs. I kind of go in the back way and then
Right.
drive up to the table. So literally, I like to sit back there and just watch the guys signing and watch the interaction, because
Sure.
that always gives me ideas for stories like you, right?
Yeah. No, I'll be at the National with the press credential. I'll be representing Puck Junk. Sal was great enough to get me press credential. I'm going to write about it for my monthly column. So, I'll have some media access. I'm, curious to see what, I like to see how these guys interact with fans. Some of them are better than others. I always tell people, if you're going to get in line and you're going to get some, meet somebody, have something ready to say to these people too. Like, hey, I really enjoyed watching you growing up, or whatever it is, because I think these guys like to hear a little bit. Otherwise, it feels very conveyor belt.
Right.
I've seen people in front of me like get autographs. Like I was in Chicago a couple of years ago for the Spectacular, and Mike Tyson was there. And people were just going, getting signed next. Nobody was saying anything. They weren't talking. He wasn't talking. I thought it felt very, very. I was like, you could just buy this autograph online. I mean, you're not even
Right,
talking.
but Clemente, you and I are people person, so we love just to talk anywhere,
I
right? So
remember
I want people to talk. I want people to tell me stories. And
So I had watched Mike Tyson was interviewed many years ago by Diego Maradona, a soccer player. So when he was retired, he had a show in Argentina, and he invited Mike Tyson. I watched that interview on YouTube. So I said to myself, when I get Mike Tyson's autograph, I definitely want to mention that interview. Like, it was really cool. And I said to him, I go, oh, Mike, thanks for being here. I go, I'm coming all the way from Brooklyn. I figured he's a Brooklyn guy, right? That didn't faze him that much. And then I said, I really enjoyed that interview you did with Diego Maradona a couple of years, many years ago. And he was like, oh, and Maradona was dead at that point. He goes, oh man, that guy was my buddy, and it was nice. I think he, how many people are going to mention Maradona to Mike Tyson?
Right.
Probably nobody, and so I had a couple of words with him. I mean, we're not friends or anything, but it was better than like next, that I saw that and I remember thinking, oh, this is like really awful,
Yeah.
and it's not just the signer. Also, the people have to sort of be interactive a little bit too. I mean, you're not bothering them; they're getting paid. The truth is, these guys don't have to come and sign; they can stay home if they wanted to. So,
right, like Lawrence Taylor is supposed to be a really tough guy to deal with personality wise, but I'll tell you, the times I've seen him at shows, he is awesome. He's so friendly, takes pictures with the guys, tells stories. He's very good.
Yeah, I got Lawrence Taylor here at Hofstra a couple of I think a year ago actually, because he signs a lot now. Recently, he's signing a lot. Makes you think he needs the money. But Lawrence Taylor's a friendly guy. These guys who, especially in Boston, New York, when you play in those markets, you become bulletproof by that point. I mean, you've been everything said about you, good, bad, and so these guys they're way over it. I mean, if anything, they want the attention now because people just go up to them and say, when you won the Super Bowl, that was so great. I mean, that's that puts a smile on their face and gives you a connection to that athlete.
Yeah, one of the worst guys that I saw last year was Allen Iverson, and I was a big fan of him as a player. But he was there. He had probably 4 or 5 guys around him. He had. He will be there this year.
He'll be there again.
He had a bucket hat on. He didn't look down. He didn't talk to anyone, and his signature is the worst. It's just like an A.
Right.
It's really bad. And I'm like, I can't believe people are paying for this guy's signature. For that experience, because just like you said. If you can, you can get 4 sentences out of a guy and try to find something, a common ground. And that's always fun.
I'm a big fan of the nice autographs. So some of the nice autographs out there, Adrian Peterson has a nice autograph.
Yeah.
Like Goose Gossage, nice autograph. Like, so if you're looking for a nice autograph, these guys will actually sign like that. They won't just give you a big A with the line, they'll actually sign, right? Yeah, I mean that's nice. That's like
I'm holding up my Goose Gossage card that I got in
That's an
TTM
A plus
yesterday.
in Catholic school. That's an A plus in Catholic school. No, but totally. And if you're looking for nice autographs, these guys will still do a nice autograph. But some guys will just do, if he's not even going to look up at you, I say save your money and forget it.
Yeah, I have a couple guys. I really want Dr. J, and I have his rookie card, and I've been going back and forth about getting it, but he's pretty pricey. I think he's like $350 or something.
Yeah, he's pricey. Dr. J signs a lot in the New York area too, and people see it all the time. So Dr. J doesn't jump out at me, but he's a legend. And if you're looking for vintage NBA guys,
well, I went to UMass, so I have a connection with him there. And I've been trying to get him on the show he's one of my guys that I'd like to get on the show. I haven't had any luck.
Because he's in broadcasting that he would do it.
Yeah, you never know. What so you have a media pass, you don't get the VIP to get the autographs in the
I don't think so, but I'm not even going to be there for VIP night. I won't be. I'll leave the next day. The other thing I want to warn people about, something I'm worried about, is you've probably been reading a lot about these flight delays. So be aware that, like, I'm leaving in the morning on a Thursday. I hope things aren't so bad. I'm leaving out of Kennedy Airport, which is probably the worst airport in the world. But, I know a lot of people might be delayed, and, because a lot of people were traveling, thunderstorms. This happened last summer. I remember there was a lot of issues with travel, but I went to the sports card expo that was held in the pandemic in the summer. I got delayed and I had to leave the next day. So be aware of that too. I mean, if you're driving, great, but we're not driving, we're too far away.
Right, and pack accordingly. Just t-shirts and shorts and maybe a couple nice golf shirts.
I know it's like 1,000 degrees in the summer. It's going to be very hot. So, you probably won't spend a lot of time outdoors. That's the other thing. You'll be inside a lot. So my hotel's a few blocks away, so I'll be able to walk a little bit. But yeah, but it's a fun time. And the truth is, we talk about the autographs, but be aware that you don't want to spend all your time just waiting in line at the autograph pavilion. You really want to
see, because the lines are long.
Yeah, and the Sport Card Expo that I went for 5 days, and that is the equivalent of a national. And if you want to sit and do dollar boxes or quarter boxes, do it. It will take hours and hours, but you're going to find gems there. And I would do it. If you're there for a couple of days, definitely take a day to do that, because you want to peruse a little bit. But when you peruse, you're going to find that everyone's got the same stuff in the showcase for the most part. It's the other stuff they have that's interesting that you need to really focus on. And remember last year, the big thing was the Mickey Mantle card. I don't know if this year they'll be.
Yeah, I have Derek Grady on the TTMcast 101 on Wednesday. So I just talked to him the other day, and he's not sure what the buzz is going to be this year.
Right. There's always one big draw that draws everybody in, and I'm just looking forward to seeing people, talking to people. I don't know if you're going to be doing recording from there.
Yeah, no, what Drew is not coming to the show this year, so we decided not to do record a show, which is kind of nice, because it was last year was kind of half of the show was working it, quote unquote, and the other half was doing this the collector. So this one's going to be more collecting and less TTMcast. You know what I mean?
No, totally. And and it's funny. I spent the past year sending cards to friends of mine, including yourself, and then people are always very polite and say, what can I do for you? And I'm like, you know what? Get me a beer at the National. So I'm gonna be.
You must have a case coming to you.
No, but I mean, it just, I like, you and I are very social, and so I like the social aspect of it. I remember during the pandemic, the Sport Card Expo was remote. And the best part of that was the talking to other collectors, not the buying. I can buy on eBay. I don't need. Right. So it was, it was going into chat rooms, talking to people. This is better than a chat room. This is like face to face in a big room, and we all have the same. We all have the same interests. We collect differently, but we all are in this gigantic club. And it reminds me a lot of very nostalgic for me. It reminds me of like homeroom in high school, where everybody just got together and talked sports, talked collecting. And we're all adults now, but we still have that childlike curiosity and love for something, which I think is great. Life is very complicated. Everyday life is difficult. People need hobbies, escapes. It's harmless. We don't hurt anybody. Just don't spend more than you have. Don't don't do anything crazy. Definitely come with a budget, because it becomes like a casino, and you don't want to go crazy. And so you want to bring some cash. There's ATM machines there. Some people take Venmo or PayPal. It depends. Not everyone will do that. So bring some cash, be safe. I will tell people are scared of Chicago. This is not really Chicago. It's Rosemont. It's
right.
You're basically 5 minutes from the airport. You're basically in a suburb. You're not in Chicago. And if you want to go see a White Sox game or Cubs, or you want to go into the city, if there's time for that, you know, people
Right.
can-
If you go to the White Sox is not in a great section of town. So if you
They're not.
if you guys are going to any of the White Sox games that you go to National, just
Yeah.
park in the lot. Don't think you're going to get a free parking out in the street because your tires won't be there when you come back.
Yeah, so be safe, be smart. If you're from a big city like Boston, New York, you know the drill. If you're from a smaller place, just know that you're not in Chicago at the show. You're basically outside, and it's much safer than Atlantic City. So just be
Right.
aware of your money and your surroundings, and you know, and also the cards. If you're carrying expensive cards, just be aware of that. You know, and the hotels have safes. You can bring it with you. I mean, I'm not a fan of the fanny pack, but if you want to bring a fanny pack or a knapsack, do that. Because the knapsack I bring to put my stuff in, but also to put my snacks in. So just do that and just be smart, because a lot of bad things, you know, there's a lot of bad actors out there nowadays because there's a lot of money in the hobby, and so
Yep.
be careful.
And pace yourself, right? You got to pace yourself. And I always tell anyone, right, have fun and watch your budget. But if you see something you want or you like, buy it then, because it's not going to be there when you come back the next day or 2 hours
Yeah.
later or
So-
15 minutes later.
You're right, because the volume of people is more than any show you've ever been to. And so if you don't buy it, literally the next 10 minutes, somebody will see it and buy it. Especially if you're on the fence about it, you should get it, because it will, or be aware that if you don't get it, that you're going to lose it. And that's okay. Because if you're right, if you pass up on it, it will be gone, you know, so.
Right. And don't be afraid to negotiate. And Les and I talk about this all the time. But keep in mind that these guys are dealers. It costs them money for the booth. It costs them money to get there. It costs them money for their hotel. They have, you know, they're there to make money. They're not there to be your best friend. But
Yeah,
don't
overhead.
insult the guy, right?
Yeah, you know, my thing with whenever I'm trying to deal is I look for a deal if I'm buying more than one thing. If I'm buying one card, you know, and what I do too is, you know, maybe because I'm old school, if I see a card I like, I'll kind of go to the side, look on eBay. I don't do it in their face. Trust me, dealers don't want you to tell them. Look, they know what the prices are. They don't, you know,
Right. It's their card. They know.
You know, they're like, oh, the last comp 5 minutes ago. It's like, you know, whatever. So I don't do that. But if it's like, oh, can I get $10 off? That's okay usually. Or I'll buy these two. Can you take a little off? And then they do it. But you're right. Like, don't insult them, because that's not cool. And these guys are working hard, and you're right. They're not there for your satisfaction. They're there to make money. And there's overhead. There's food and travel and hotel rooms, and they got to pay the fee for the tables.
Right. And display space. And
yeah, they start in the negative. They got to get back to the positive, right? Like a cab driver, right?
right.
Right. So you have to make your money and then make a profit, you know. And so, right, don't insult them. Be polite. And oftentimes there's dealers that people know already, so that's always a good thing too.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't hurt to grab a business card, because that person might not have what you want that second, but they might have it, or they can source it better than you can. So I always grab business cards of the guys, especially if a guy that I like talking with, and you know, he's interested in kind of the same stuff I am. I keep his card. So and I'll go back. I go back months later and say, hey, I'm at the National, you know, looking for, you know, Jim Rice 1977 tops. Do you have it? Right. Yeah.
So yeah, the key is networking, and I agree. Take their card. You can always email them later, or you go back next year, and then you see them in Cleveland, which is next year's venue. You know, whatever. I mean, it's a big country, but it's a small community still, and so I think it's important to be aware of that. You know, and foster that relationship at the National. That's why I go, because
Yep.
I go to
all right. Who is on your list, and not his specific card, but if you see a card or an autograph or a picture of this guy, I'm buying it. It doesn't matter.
So it's funny. I feel like I'm going with a lot of soccer in mind, which is probably not ideal because it's not a lot of soccer out there. But I am looking for Messi stuff. I do think because Messi's coming here, I'm interested in more of his stuff.
Oh, speaking of Messi, before you start, I was at the Red Sox game yesterday. The woman that sits, the women and guy that sit right next to us, because we have season tickets, but we have a 20-game package, and she's got the same package, so we become friendly with her. She has season tickets to the Revolution.
Right.
So I said when the next year when the Revolution come around, I want Messi tickets.
Right.
And she said, well, I can buy tickets. I can buy tickets before anyone else does. You know, they get a.
So that's your in then, because
right, and that's what I'm telling you. So we got an in. to buy tickets for Messi
That's for next year.
next year.
A side note, I'm going to see the Red Bulls Revolution on Saturday night. So
Oh, nice.
I'll be there. And the Revolution had one of the greatest coaches in American history, Bruce Arena, coached the U.S. national team. So, but yeah, so the key is I think Messi stuff before he actually gets here, because once he's here, I think it's too late. And Messi's really high, but Messi stuff has come down. He's had he had a great World Cup, but the season was kind of so. So I'm curious to see what can I get from Messi in terms of card wise, autograph wise. I'm just curious to see what's out there. He has signed a lot, but I'm curious to see what's out there in the wild, because I think he's going to become iconic to an American audience like Pele did.
Are you going to try to finish your sticker album for this
so
year?
my World Cup sticker album, I did finish that.
Oh, congratulations.
So I did finish that. I do know that oftentimes people will scold me for this and say, why do you go to the National and buy like wax? And I said, why? I buy wax because like David Adams gives me a coupon for the National, so you want to use it. So I may use it for Women's World Cup stickers, or I might use it for the Chronicles set we talked about, or whatever, because I do like to rip stuff that's new too. I don't want to just, I'm not buying wax from the 80s. I mean, I could buy that anywhere. So I do want to buy some new stuff. And there's a lot of, I mentioned Steel City or David Adams. I mean, all these big companies will be there. And oftentimes they have decent deals. And oftentimes you'll get, like I know with David Adams, there was like a freebie to go to the Upper Deck booth. And Upper Deck, by the way, if you go to the corporate section, Upper Deck is a lot of hockey. So you want to go there. And
they have some nice stuff. The Upper Deck Authentic has a lot of nice stuff.
A lot of museum type stuff that you to look at.
Yeah.
It's cool. And a lot of Gretzky and McDavid and whatever. So definitely, if you're a hockey person, gravitate towards the Upper Deck part, because they could be freebies or giveaways or whatever it is, which is worth going to if you're a hockey person. I'm curious to see how big Fanatics will be. I mean, last year the Zero Cool thing was huge, and I'm curious to see what they will do this year, because they have so much of it, so much. Their tentacles are all over the hobby now.
Right.
So I'm actually thinking in the future, it would shock me that it would be called the Fanatics National or something.
Well, I don't know. This is the last year of the people that have been promoting the show for the last 7 or 8 years, maybe 10 years. So we have a new promoter next year. I know Les is familiar with them, and he's kind of very optimistic about what they're going to bring to the Nationals. So
they do the New York shows, and the New York shows are very good. The Hofstra show and the White Plains show. They're very good shows. I mean, they come up around every couple of months, but they're big. Like the Hofstra one, they put 400 tables or 300 tables in this small space. They get great signers. It is a great show. And so it's the kind of thing where in some parts of the country you may be spoiled by these big shows. Nonetheless, I think the National is unique. You need to go to it at least once in your life. I went last year and I thought, I'm so much into the hobby now that I have to go to the National. Like, I just want to see people. I want to see stuff. Will I be in Cleveland next year? It depends. I don't know.
Yeah. My wife and I were talking, because the Major League Baseball All-Star game is in Texas next year.
Okay.
So I think we might go to Dallas and go to the Major League All-Star game and skip the National next year. Now, that isn't 100% certain, but
maybe if the Dallas Card Show people are smart, they'll try to have their show around that same time, that weekend.
I bet they will. I wouldn't put them past them.
Yeah, and then you can go to that. And the Dallas Card Show is on my bucket list, because I've been to so many big regional shows. I've been to the Chicago Sports Spectacular. I've been to the Chantilly show, which is great. If you like football, go to the Chantilly. I've been to Toronto for the Sport Card Expo, but never Dallas. And I do want to get to Dallas. And for us East Coast people, Dallas is pretty far. But I do think it's worth a trip at some point, because I think it's a great show from what I've seen.
Cool. We are speaking with Clemente Lisi. It is Clemente's World. We are talking National. We talked a little soccer collectibles, a little of everything. I think you can get overwhelmed at the National, and I think you have to make sure that it doesn't overwhelm you. You almost have to. It's like when you're playing ball, and you want to slow the game down. You want to slow the National down. You don't want to get shot out of a cannon and 2 hours later you're just beat because you've spent all your money and you've only been to 12 booths.
You know what? The phrase "too much of a good thing," and I agree. It's like going to a buffet, so you can get overwhelmed. Take it in pieces, enjoy it. Don't feel like you want to, because otherwise, if you do what you just said, 2 hours, you're exhausted. You go back to the hotel room. That's not enjoyable at all. And so don't get overwhelmed, but it can be overwhelming depending on your personality. But you're right. slow it down, right? How do you slow it down? Just don't feel like you have to see everything, because if you're there for a couple of days, you will see everything. And you know what? You might miss something. It's going to happen. It's a lot of tables, a lot of people, but like if I see a booth that's full of people, I'm going to skip it. I'll go back later. Like I'm not going to, sometimes those dollar tables are like 5 people deep. I'm not going to wait around. I'll come back. I'll circle back, And so, but oftentimes if you want, print out the map. I have my phone. Thing is, last year at the National, the phone service was so terrible.
I know, it's horrible.
This year will be better. So you could definitely use your phone or tablet as your guide, because otherwise.
Yeah, I recommend getting the show program,
Yes.
looking where the booths are for people that you know or maybe have done business with before.
Right.
And also check them off, because you're not going to remember. You're gonna go to a booth, and then you're gonna walking around, and then you're gonna forget where that booth was. Take pictures. Take pictures.
The National is like a labyrinth. You could get lost, because then you're like, well, where are my bearings? Like, where's the main entrance? And you look around, you don't know.
It's kind of like when you're in a casino for the first time, and you're like, okay, how did I get to in this place? And it can happen at the National.
Totally agree with you. Take it in small bites. If you're there for a couple of days, enjoy it. And what I want to enjoy too is what happens after the National, or the trade night, or all the other stuff that goes around the National. Or dinner, whatever. And so a lot of events around that.
And watch for the kids and families. If you got you have some base cards that you don't really care about, give them to the kids, because we got to keep the kids interested.
By the way, I'm glad you point that out. Last year, what bothered me was I saw garbage cans full of base cards in the garbage. Like, don't do that. Don't throw them out. Like, give it to. There's lots of kids walking around with their families. Just give it to a kid. A kid is really excited about cards. They don't really care. Instead, people just they open packs. They're looking for autographs, and they throw everything else in the garbage. Don't do that, because there's people out there who want this stuff. It's you're doing a good deed, and so do that. Don't throw them out.
Very good. All right, Clemente, you working on any articles? Get any new articles coming?
So I have my piece on Puck Junk on Connor Bedard. I will have a piece later in July previewing the National. So a lot of stuff we talked about today will probably be in that column that is going to come out soon. And then I'll do a National recap in August. So that's what I'm working on. It really is very, all my hobby stuff is very National driven, of course.
I mean, it is the event of the year. It's fun. If you haven't been to a National, and I'm not being a pitchman for the National, but it's really a fun event, and a lot of people are there. Anyone in the hobby is there. There's usually news. Something happens. I'm sure Fanatics will release something, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
it's always the corporates are all about creating buzz at the National, of course, and so for sure.
All right, buddy. We will see you in less than 3 weeks. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, just everybody else enjoy the rest of the month. I hope everyone had a good 4th, and take it easy, breathe. The National's almost here.
Yeah, we'll have you back on maybe in August, maybe second week of August, and we'll review what you picked up and all the wins that you got, and how many blisters you have on your feet.
I'll probably be soaking my feet while I'm talking to you.
I know. It's a lot of walking. Have you been practicing? You've been out there doing
that's the beauty of being a New Yorker. I walk a lot, but the National will test even that, so for sure.
Do you bring your daughter, or do you bring your wife to the?
No, I just go solo. I do want to bring my daughter or my kids one year, because I do think they think it was fun. They would think it was fun, but no, not this year. I'm going solo. It's
kind of nice. You don't have to worry about anyone. You eat when you're hungry. You get to go to whatever booth you want.
People listening will know this. When you have kids, even just the flight is relaxing.
Yep.
So and my kids are still pretty little. So that I look forward to. It's kind of like a lot of guys I think use it as their own sort of personal vacation a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun. And guys, if you go to the National, make reservations. Find the restaurants you want to go to, because all the the restaurants are packed, especially Friday and Saturday night. So if you make reservations, I'm just fire warning. We tried to go to a pizza place when it was in Chicago 2 years ago, and it was like a 4-hour wait. Are
you planning anything, Jeff, or no? In terms of,
well, we're not going to do anything for listeners. I've got a couple invites to different parties, and We have my wife made reservations at a couple of restaurants, so I'm kind of feeling around and seeing what everyone's doing, and I think maybe we'll try to get together either Friday, Saturday, or Friday or Saturday night at one of these places. But it's not. I'm not having a listener meetup or anything like that.
Well, I definitely want to catch up with you, so I hope.
Yeah, no, we'll catch up. We'll definitely catch up. All right, buddy. Thank you. I will see you in Chicago. Be good and stay out of trouble. All right.
See you there.
All right. I'll talk to you. Bye. Drew, I really think Clemente has been a great addition to the show. I think I love talking to him. I love talking to Les. It's great to get other people's opinions other than just me and you babbling for an hour,
Absolutely. And especially when you get somebody who covers areas that we don't know quite so well. And Clemente, is the big soccer guy. You've got Les, who's been around the hobby for, decades before we were ever around it. So anytime you get somebody to fill in those kind of gaps, that is always a great thing.
Very cool. Well, guys, that wraps up Clemente's world. Next up, we're going to do a little Making the Grade.
Making the Grade is sponsored by Certified Sports Guarantee. Go to csgcards.com for sports card grading for the win. The Certified Collectibles Group is playing to win. CGC Trading Cards and CSG are combining into CGC Cards, solidifying its position as one of the world's largest and most prominent card grading services. With the merger, collectors get a number of upgrades, including the option to submit without a paid membership, a Gem Mint 10 grading scale, a sleek new label, a simplified submission process, and prices you are going to love. Grade all your cards with CGC Cards and visit cgccards.com today.
Well, Drew, Making the Grade is a summary of what's been going on in the grading community. We have some June grading numbers to report.
We do indeed. Yeah, for the entire month. We've got, let's see here, PSA down a little bit from the previous month. They did not quite hit that 1 million card mark. 999,000 cards that they had go through their offices there. So just short of that magic million mark, but still, that is a very busy month for them. Up 13% from the June of 2022 numbers. SGC had a nice month. They were up 10% from the month of June. 97,000 cards went through them. Down 4% since last year, but still, that's a solid number right there. Beckett up 4% since last year and up 14% since June. 74,000 cards went through them. CGC down a little bit, but they've had an excuse there. They've got the whole merger thing they've got going on right there. 59,000 cards, down 9% since last month and down 35% since last year. But I bet those numbers are going to pick up for their July numbers.
Yeah, I would think so. And their maintenance, their reporting was down a little in June. So I think that contributes to it as well. Guys, we get all our grading numbers from gemrate.com. And speaking of gemrate.com, they provide us numbers for the Big Three.
This week's Big Three is brought to you by gemrate.com. Whose cards are hot and whose cards are cold this week? Let's find out from our friends at gemrate.com.
I love the Big Three, Drew.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love the Big Three. The Big Three is exclusive numbers. You're not going to find these numbers anywhere else, just TTMcast. These numbers come directly from gemrate.com. These are grading numbers for the top 4 grading companies, but it is the Big Three, the top 3 individual athletes whose cards were up and the top 3 athletes whose cards were down. So this week we had 3 guys that were leading the way, so to speak. We had Lewis Hamilton was up 42%, Cole Caulfield was up 22%, and Kevin Durant was up 15%. The big card for the week was the 2007 Topps Kevin Durant rookie card. 133 of those were graded last week versus 10 the previous week. So somebody really loaded up on Kevin Durant and said, I got to get these babies graded, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
it's kind of cool to see it's cool to see Hamilton and Caulfield up there because we don't really talk about hockey that much in either the Big Three or in either the top or bottom 3. And Formula One racing, definitely not something we talk about very much either. So kind of cool to see those 2 guys leading the way this week.
Yeah, and these numbers are skewed by one. It can be skewed by 1 or 2 collectors, right? If someone has a bunch of cards they're sending in, it really increases their week over week performance. But it gives you an idea of who the hot people are and who people are sending cards in to grade. So now the bottom three, and I look at the bottom three and I was like, geez, I like all three of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big baseball week for the droppers here, but Julio Rodriguez down 41%, reigning American League Rookie of the Year winner. Adley Rutschman down 44%, hot rookie right there. And Jackson Holliday, top prospect in the Orioles organization, down 57%. But Holliday, if I remember right, had a couple of strong weeks there in a row. So not too surprising to see him drop off, but a little surprised to see that big of a drop off.
Yeah, again, I guess, remember, if someone sent in a lot of Julio Rodriguez last couple weeks, and then all of a sudden there wasn't a lot in 1 week, it is down, but it gives you an idea that baseball's not as strong as you might think, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I are big baseball guys, but it's good to see that the other sports are showing up in the top three, right? That's what we just talking about.
And I think with the All-Star game coming this week, you might see another strong bounce back from baseball here in the next couple of weeks. There is kind of, it may drop off a little bit in the run up to it. And then once the actual game happens, okay, it'll be right in front of people's minds again. And I bet those guys bounce right back
it's
up.
who wins the home run contest, right?
Yes.
And who wins the MVP. Those
Yes.
numbers are certainly going to be up in the next couple of weeks, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, guys, thank you. We thank our friends at GemRate, and we're gonna have Ryan on from GemRate. He's going to do the big three next week, Drew.
Ooh, cool.
So we are free. We are free from the big three. Ryan gets to do the big three next week. So we will have Ryan from GemRate on to do the big three, but we thank Ryan and his team for providing the statistics each week. We get those numbers exclusively from our friends at gemrate.com. If you need to look any grading numbers from the top 4 companies out there, just go to gemrate.com. They follow them on social media. They post daily grading numbers as well as weekly grading numbers, and you can follow us. We always give the weekly numbers and the monthly numbers, but they also do daily grading numbers, so you can follow them. gemrate.com on social media. All right, guys, that wraps up the big three. Next up is TTMCast Stamp of Approval.
I bet you're wondering who earned this week's TTMcast Stamp of Approval.
Well, Drew, I'm really intrigued by your TTMcast Stamp of Approval this week. You just mentioned it, and Les sent me a link to his son does one of these things, and I didn't know what to do with it. It was just a grid with teams, and I'm like, I didn't know what to do with it. But now you're gonna explain it to me. So,
Yes.
Drew, why don't you do your big three, and then I will do mine. All right.
All right. Well, mine got.
I shouldn't say big three. Your TTMcast Stamp of Approval.
Yeah.
My brain is going faster than my mouth. Or my mouth is going faster than my brain.
Yeah.
All right, Drew, here we go. Drum roll. Drew's TTMcast Stamp of Approval for the week.
Yes. Well, this was sent to me by Stephen Katsoulis, one of our listeners, who also had one of the questions about international postage. So I answered that for him, and he said, "Hey, by the way, check this out. It's been my latest obsession here is this thing called Immaculate Grid." And so I checked it out, and what it is this is perfect for anybody who plays Wordle or anything like that, but is a baseball fan. And what it is it gives you this 3x3 grid. Across the top of it are 3 categories, and down the side are 3 categories. And in each of those boxes, 9 boxes total, a 3x3 grid. So in each of those, you have to fill in a player who matches each of those categories there. And so just to give you an example, I'll go through what today's puzzle was. Across the top, it had the A's, Blue Jays, and MVP. And down the side, it had the Pirates, the Giants, and 20-win season. So in square number 1 in the top left, you have to pick a player who played for both the A's and the Pirates. In the top middle one, you have to pick somebody who played for the A's and for the Pirates and the Blue Jays. And over on that top left or top right one, you have to pick somebody who played for the Pirates and won an MVP award with the Pirates. And you have to fill in the entire grid there. And your goal is to try to get the most obscure players that you possibly can, the fewest other players pick. Because, I mean, you take Pirates MVP, that's going to be Andrew McCutchen won it a couple of years ago. That's going to be right at the forefront of everyone's mind. So you're going to have, 30% of the players pick that. But a lot fewer are going to pick somebody like Paul Wainer, who won it back, the 20s or 30s or so. And he got a 0.4% of the participants picked Paul Wainer on there. So he was probably the most obscure one there. And you just try to fill in the entire grid there. So for example, with the Blue Jays and the Giants, my favorite player, Corey Snyder, played for both of those. So I put him in, and 1/100th of 1% of players have picked Corey Snyder for this. So I'm probably the only person to pick Corey Snyder on. So yeah, go me. But yeah, you just try to fill in the grid with players who fit those categories and try to get the most obscure players as possible. And so it really tests your baseball knowledge and even further than that, your knowledge of how obscure you can possibly get on some of these guys. So
And did you earn
it's a lot
points?
of fun.
Do you earn points for the most obscure people?
They do kind of have they do give a point, like a score at the end there. What they do is they add up the percentages on these. So my obscurity score today was a 19, which is pretty good because, I mean, the highest player that I named was for Giants MVP winner, Jeff Kent. Like, you can put Barry Bonds or Willie Mays in there, but everybody's going to get those guys. Whereas Jeff Kent, not exactly the most recognized one out of those guys. And so only 8% got him. But then you get like Bob Welch having a 20-win season for Oakland. That only 4% got. Pat Henkin having a 20-win season for the Blue Jays. 4% got those. And then, yeah, like I said, Corey Snyder playing for the Giants and Blue Jays, that's 1/10% right there. So that's almost, almost adds nothing onto your score there. So yeah, it's really fun. It really tests, your knowledge of baseball and truly your obscurity knowledge of baseball as well. So my TTMcast stamp approval for the week is Immaculate Grid. You can find it at immaculategrid.com. They have a new quiz every day on that. Definitely check it out. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know what? Les Wolf's son has one of those. So hold on, I'm gonna give Les Wolf's son a plug because he sent it over to me the other day. It's called Crossover Grid. And they have NBA, NFL, NHL.
Ooh. Like that.
So it's crossovergrid.com. And he's getting over 1 million hits.
Nice. I will be bookmarking that and checking that out as well. Because I mean, I love the baseball ones there, but I could probably go nuts on the hockey one as well.
Yeah, so it's Crossover Grid, it's NBA, NHL, and NFL.
Nice.
So the one I'm looking at has Cleveland Cavaliers, Washington Wizards, Portland Trail Blazers on the top, San Antonio, Houston Rockets, and 73 inches or taller.
All right.
So that's the NBA one. You want to read the NHL one to you?
Yeah, I got to hear the NHL.
NHL is Pittsburgh Penguins, Dallas Stars, San Jose Sharks. Then the other one is Capitals, Bruins, and Senators.
Oh, I could have a field day with that one.
There you go.
I mean, especially when you said the Cavs and the Penguins right off the bat on both of those. Like, all right, I've got to go and do this now. So
yep.
I know what I'm going to be doing right after we get done with the show here before I go.
So Les' Wolf's son, it's called crossovergrid.com. We'll give a plug to Les. He sent it to me and I looked at it and I just, my brain froze. I like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? It's an empty grid with logos. I had no idea what I'm supposed to do with it.
That threw me off a little bit on the baseball one too, because there is an instruction thing up in the corner there, and finally I clicked that and was like, oh, okay, so that makes sense there. But yeah,
I think he assumed people knew how to do this, but it's Immaculate Grid's one you were doing. The other one that I was looking at was crossovergrid.com. You can check that one out. That's Les' Wolf's son is doing it. So see, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree in the Wolf family, right?
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Drew. Thanks for helping me, because that was a big help for me, because I was totally clueless on what that thing was. He sent it to me and I sent him like 7 question marks. Like, what is this? He sent it to me like 2 days ago. I had I missed the memo on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my TTMcast stamp approval. This is my family. My whole family is doing this. My wife, my son, and my daughter. And it is like, I don't know. We're addicted to it. We've been doing it for 2 weeks now. It's called Duolingo, and you learn languages. And the 4 of us are learning Spanish. So we're doing. I do Spanish. We do Spanish lessons, and my house is like, yo hablo español, and everyone is practicing their Spanish, and you go through all these lessons, and it gives you points and keeps track, and it's fun. It's addictive. So we've been doing it so now when we go to a restaurant, the 4 of us are sitting there trying to speak Spanish and order in Spanish and talk to people in Spanish, and it's we're 4 gringos trying to learn Spanish. But the plan is to learn Spanish. The 4 are going to learn Spanish and then go on a trip someplace. Okay, either Spain or Mexico or someplace where they speak Spanish. So we're 2 weeks in, and we're all doing it, and we're all my wife's very competitive about it. So So it's good. It's a game. It's kind of like, Wordle or any of these other games, and they run you through all these lessons and teach you words and phrases, and it's pretty good. So Duolingo, it's a free app. You can do a free app, but we're doing it as we're doing a paid version as the family, and we keep track and encourage each other, and it's fun. Duolingo.
Nice.
Do you speak Spanish?
No, I took French when I was in high school, so I can do a bit there. I passed the proficiency test, but I'm far from fluent. And I've actually used Duolingo a bit for Finnish as well. They're the only one that has Finnish. Rosetta Stone doesn't have Finnish at all. So I found Duolingo had Finnish. It's like, all right, I can play around with that a little bit. And I've gotten away from it a lot. I haven't done it in like probably a year now, but yeah, I was doing that for a little while at least.
It's fun.
It is, yeah.
So if you want to learn a language, and I'm really bad at languages, especially English, so we're learning Spanish and Duolingo. That is my TTMCast Stamp of Approval, and it's been fun. So hopefully in I don't know, 2 months time, 3 months time, I'll be proficient enough in Spanish to the family will be, and we can go on a trip. That's the plan.
Yeah, nice.
All right, that wraps up my TTMCast Stamp of Approval. Drew, next up is the Vern Rapp Minute. The Vern Rapp Minute is dedicated to Mr. Vern Rapp, who passed away prior to me sending out a TTM request. We do this as a service to our fellow TTMers, so we don't get embarrassed like me sending out a TTM request to people who passed away in the world of sports and celebrity. This week we lost a few people. We lost Vince Tobin, who was coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He coached in the NFL for a long time. He coached for the Cardinals from 1996 to 2000. He last TTM in May of 2023. He was a very good TTMer. Vince Tobin was 79 years old.
We lost Mario Guerrero this week. He was the 31st Major League player from the Dominican Republic. Spent time with the Red Sox, the Cardinals, and the Oakland A's from 1973 to 1981. He was not known to be a TTMer at all. Mario Guerrero was 73 years old.
We lost Darren Drozoff, and you may not recognize the name. From 1991 to 1993, he was on like the Jets and Eagles preseason games. He played for Denver. He actually was during Monday night. They showed him puking, throwing up, and that was his nickname, Puke, which is not the greatest nickname. But he actually went into wrestling. He was in WWE for a long time, and he was a good TTMer. Darren Drozoff, he was 54 years old.
We lost Jimmy Kim this week. Jimmy Kim was a gold medal winner at the 1988 Olympics in Seoul, South Korea. He was in Taekwondo is where he won his gold. Not a TTMer. Jimmy Kim was 56 years old.
We lost Johnny Cook. Johnny Cook went to Mississippi State. He was a linebacker. He played from the Colts from 82 to 87. He played the Giants from 88 to 90 and the Browns in 1991. Do you remember him as a Brown, Drew?
Very briefly. I remember he was a very high draft pick and didn't quite pan out there with the Colts quite as much as expected. But yeah, the Browns brought him in there because they had a pretty depleted linebacking core there at one point in 1991 with some injuries. And so I think he mostly was coming off the bench a little bit on special teams for them. But yeah, do briefly remember him.
Yep, Johnny Cook. He was not a TTMer. He was 64 years old.
We lost Jesse Taylor this week. He was a running back and a kick returner in the NFL, played with the Redskins and the Chargers for a couple seasons. Not known to be a TTMer. He was 75 years old.
Yeah, I believe he led the league in kick return in like 72 or something like that. So nice. He was a pretty good kick returner. This is a really interesting story. Her name was Penny Ann Earl. She was a jockey, and female jockey, and in the 60s and early 70s, and she was the first woman to ride in a pari-mutuel race as a jockey, but the jockeys boycotted. All the male jockeys boycotted. A lot of them did, and it was a real big news. Woman's lib type of thing. Well, equal rights, the whole 9 yards back in the day. and she made news, and she became the Kentucky Colonels, who were from the ABA, signed her to a contract.
Jeez.
She was like 5'3" or something. She was short. And they, in November 27th, 1968, versus the LA Stars, they called timeout with like a minute or two left in the first half, and the coach put her in. She inbounded the ball. They called timeout, pulled her out of the game. There were like 5,000 people in the stands. She signed autographs for a lot of people, and she is the first woman to play in a men's professional basketball game.
Oh wow!
So she was, very, very. It was kind of very famous. So Penny Ann Earl, she passed away. She was 80 years old.
Kind of like the time that Minute Bull played hockey there. I mean, he didn't come off the bench at all, but he was in uniform and on the bench, so he gets credit as having played in the game there.
Yeah, she actually got in the game, but literally
she actually did, which is even
literally
better.
She inbounded the ball. The coach was pissed. The owner wanted this to happen, so they made the coach put her in the game. So he's like, okay, I'll get her. I'll put her in the game, and she was literally in for like 10 seconds,
Right. Jeez.
But it was an interesting story, and I thought it was fun to share.
Yeah, definitely. We also lost Fred Willis this week. He was a running back for a couple teams in the 1970s, played from 71 to 77 as a member of the Bengals, the Oilers, and the Broncos, a Boston College product as well. Fred Willis was 75 years old.
Yeah, he was a New England guy. He grew up here in Boston,
Okay.
in the Boston area, ended up playing with Boston College, and kind of locally, he was one of the, the guys, your local guys was made good, and he played a couple of years in the NFL, which is kind of cool. This guy, we lost Bob Garibaldi. Bob Garibaldi. He played 2 seasons, two games for the Giants. 1963, 1966. He was a pitcher. He was 0-2. He had a 3.08 ERA. He played 63 and 66, 1 game each. He also played in the Royal system and the Padres system, but never made the majors. He was 81 years old.
To have 2 starts and a 3.08 ERA and go 0-2, man, he was not getting any run support in those 2 games, it seems like.
Yeah, you know what? These guys, there's just some guys, we do it every week, right? There's some guys that make 1 game or 2 games, and usually they have like a 7 or a 10 ERA, right? And
right, yep.
They pitched 2/3 of an inning and let up 7 runs, and so some guys just he was one of those 4A players, right? He played AAA for most of his career, but at least he got in the majors. That's which is great.
Yeah, he's pitched 2 more games in the majors than I have, so that's great on him there for that.
Yep. So Bob Garibaldi, he was 81 years old. Well, Drew, that wraps up our Vern Rapp Minute. And next up, we're going to talk a little TTM returns.
Was our mailbox full this week? Let's take a look at this week's TTM returns.
So do we embarrass you and let you go with your 1 return this week, or do we go with mine and Hall of Famers up and down the row, NBA All-Stars, NFL, Major League Baseball guys? I got all sorts of guys this week.
You did, yeah. I can just sweep mine out of the way real quick here because I think I actually mentioned it last week because it was coming in on Saturday, and I'm like, yeah, this should be coming in later today, and we'll find out for sure if I'm right. And I was. And so, yeah, I mean, I got that Brent Sutter last week and that's it. My mailbox has been empty besides that. I mean, I've gotten stuff from that I bought on Sport Lots and stuff that I bought off eBay and a few trades, but yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I've sent out about, 20 over the last couple of weeks. So hopefully those start coming back in, but I think it was just a case where, I wrote out a bunch there for a while and all of those came back quickly. And now I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I haven't sent any off for a couple of weeks. I guess I kind of got to get back into that now and start filling the mailbox again here. So yeah, we'll hopefully have a better week here, a couple better weeks upcoming and mail a few more out.
Hey, Drew, I've had a really good week. I've had a lot of guys, my Baseball Hall of Famers are coming in. I got Reggie Jackson. I got a couple from him. Fergie Jenkins, I got 2 from him. Harold Baines, I think I got 4 or 5 from him. Goose Gossage, I got 2 from him. And Brooks Robinson, I got 4 from him. So those are all really good returns for me. Yeah. And then at baseball, I got 2 from Bob Boone yesterday, I was happy about that. And I got a 1987 Reggie Williams, who played for the Dodgers. I got a return from him yesterday. In basketball, I got Therese Halliburton. I sent a request out to the Indiana Pacers. They didn't sign my card, but I did get a card from the Pacers signed by him with a certificate of authenticity. It didn't cost me anything. So, and they sent my self-addressed stamped envelope back too.
Oh, nice.
So it was very good. And then I got some 1973 Topps football back. I got Paul LeVage, who played for the Washington Redskins, Bruce Van Dyke, who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Royce Barry, who played for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Larry Hand, who played for the Detroit Lions. So I got all those 1973 Topps football cards back. So that is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different guys.
Nice.
And probably, I don't know, 20 or 25 different cards.
Yeah.
That's a Drew Pelto week.
Yeah, that's I mean, that exceeds what I've done here in a while now. That's a real solid one. Especially, I mean, that's both quantity and quality right there. You don't usually get much like that, both those together in 1 week. So that's a solid one.
Yeah, it was a good week. And then I actually sent out yesterday, I sent out about 15.
Nice.
So I got a lot of just some random baseball and a couple of football guys and just guys that have been kind of hanging around. So I sent out about 15, and then my wife picked up a roll of stamps before the price of stamps went up. So doing a lot TTM. I've been trying to get out 10 a week, which is a pretty good goal.
Yeah.
All right, bud. Well, that wraps up returns. I think we should put a bow on this show and kind of wrap it up. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. We've got everything pretty well covered, I would say.
All right.
And this is how it ends.
All right. Well, we've gone, and as I said, Drew, when we first started this, I thought we'd go for about an hour, and Drew and our segment has gone for about an hour today. First, I want to thank Kurt Humbertson, who is a TTMer from West Virginia. He was in Collector's Corner. Hopefully enjoyed my time with him. We had Clemente Lisi on back-to-back 2 weeks in a row. Thank you, Clemente. We will have Clemente on. We're going to do a review of the National with Clemente after, so we'll have him probably in the first week in August. I want to thank Bob DeMarco, who played 15 seasons in the NFL. He was a center. He was on our Wednesday show. Make sure you check that out. Next week, we have Derek Grady from Heritage Auctions will be on. Also, Les Wolf will be on. We're going to be doing appraisals. So if you have any items you want Les to appraise, make sure you send those in. Right, Drew?
Yes,
send them in to our email address is
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
Yeah, make sure you send a picture and a description of the item. Make sure the picture's clear enough and good so that we can see what you like us to appraise. And Les will do a free appraisal. We're going to do a free appraisals with Les next week. We also have Greg Bates from Sports Collectors Digest, who writes tons of articles, and we're going to talk to Greg Bates. A couple things we want to remind people. We have our raffle. We're going to be giving away a Jim Lomborg 5x7 autographed card. He signed it with his name, and it's 1967 Cy Young winner. So if you want to win that, send me your name and your mailing address to
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
Put Lomborg in the subject line. We're going to give that away next Saturday. Also, I remind everyone, if you want a $10 coupon from Collects, send me your make sure you sign up for Collects. Put your Collects name and your email address, and we'll put Collects coupon in the email address, and we'll get you a $10 coupon from Collects. So that is it, Drew. I don't think there's anything else. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, I think we've gotten everything pretty well covered on there.
All right, guys, we will see you on Wednesday. Wishing everyone many happy returns. Be good and stay safe. All right.
All right.